Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey, Alex and Jake here from SeemsGoodMagic.com. Just got done recording a podcast, and this is an exciting podcast because we introduce the set that we've been working on, Kingdoms of Corithan, on here. So kind of explain the mechanics in that, some of the different kingdoms. Jake gets into detail on the explanation of the kingdoms on that, so you can find out more details about what the set is actually going to be. We also talk about the remaining M14 spoilers that have been spoiled so far. There's about 201, something like that.
So very close to full spoiler, but they're going to release the full spoiler this Monday, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's right around the corner on Paper Magic of coming out, pre-release and stuff like that. It's a pretty exciting set. There's some cool stuff, some new wording that we're not even sure on the exact rulings of
we
yet.
have to wait till tomorrow to figure it all out.
So it's kind of exciting. The Mortarpod is also brought to you by VerenCamp.com. That's VerenCamp.com. Scott Verencamp designed SeemsGoodMagic.com. He did a great job, so check out his website if you want to see his portfolio, some of the other web design work he does. I also wanted you to know it's easy to contact me, mortarpod@SeemsGoodMagic.com, and you can follow us on Twitter @SeemsGoodMagic. Also, we're still live streaming Tuesdays, Thursdays. Last week, because of the holidays, we did Tuesday, Wednesday, but I wrote that in my blog, so if you've been keeping up with the blog I have online at all, I kind of say what's been going on when I can't catch up with you on the podcast. So enjoy this episode, and we'll see you next week. All right, Jake, we got some new M14 spoilers we're here to talk about.
Let's do this thing.
All right, so in white, let's talk about imposing Sovereign, because we've seen this ability before. This is from, what was that rhino that had it? Do you remember the name of that?
Yeah, it locks it on Gatekeeper, except it also affected artifacts and lands as well.
Let's look at that bad boy. Locks it on Gatekeeper.
He's really good in Commander still.
So he's a 4-mana 2/3. Artifacts, creatures, and lands your opponent's control come to play tapped. Okay. Yeah, so this slightly worse, but also 2 mana cheaper. Still has 2 power. What do you think about this alongside like detain creatures from Return to Ravnica?
I like this card. You know, I don't know what else to say about it other than like I do think it's really cool with
White Weenie playable.
Oh
Good
yeah,
enough?
for sure.
Is it
might be
just
sideboardable.
Isn't it
like,
a little bit? Yeah, that's true. It's a little bit underwhelming on the front as just a 2 mana 2/1. It's just a Goblin Biker.
It's better in multicolor decks. So like playing a blue-white men detain.
It looks like
okay.
that's a good point. It's easier to play. It is human, so it interacts with any sort of.
I didn't even realize it was just a human. Like
that's kind
no
of unique,
second creature type. Wow. That is really
unique, or what?
That's really unique for a card printed now. You know, like back in the day when they printed cards with the type Townsfolk, they I think just turned those into human. But
what could they have made it like a?
I don't know. I guess Lord would be the most appropriate thing to give it because it's a sovereign, but that's an obsolete creature type. So I guess human's fine.
Yeah, I don't know what else you'd really label a sovereign.
Yeah. I think Lord is the most appropriate type, and that's not a type anymore.
So I think I can agree with this would be a sideboard card if there's like creature heavy decks or anything like that. But I don't think it's the greatest, and I don't think it's like the best additional White Weenie deck could ever use. That ability is pretty good, but Blind Obedience kind of hyped a little bit in the beginning, and it didn't pan out as a card at all, really, in Standard.
It looks really good.
I still like it.
I do too. It's
It's
just
an extort stick
yeah, and
that's hard to target
it's fine
and deal
in
with.
multiples when you get those out too, so it's not even like a dead draw late.
Yeah. The next card we got to talk about is Soul Mender. So what do you think about a 1-mana 1/1 that taps to gain 1 life? This is definitely a downgrade from the classic Soul Warden, Essence Warden
Yeah, I suppose you're right about that.
creature. So it's interesting that they've
But this was also
done that.
called Silent Attendant for 3 mana 0/2 tap gain 1 life before.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is like a huge
Upgrade from
to
that. I
Yeah.
see. But it's no Soul Warden.
No, it is not. It's not even close to Martyr of the Sands or whatever, Martyr of Sands,
Yeah.
which is a crazy good life gain effect too.
So I think, yeah, I don't know if anything's really going to happen with Soul Mender in limited. I'm not sure if it's good enough. It's probably
It's
okay.
fine.
It's probably okay.
It's fine.
It does tap to gain life.
Yeah, I mean,
But
you
I'm
can
not
block
sure.
with it and
Yeah.
prevent a damage essentially. So
Maybe it'd be a sideboard and limited only though. I mean, I guess if you're hard up for creatures.
like Semi Healer effect, tap to prevent 1 damage, not terrible, even if it's just to yourself. So if you think of it in that way,
Yeah.
it does kind of act like a buffer zone.
Preventing damage to creatures though is so much.
Yeah. Oh, and that's what makes Semi Healer play
so much better.
Sure.
Yeah, so much better than Soul Mender.
Yeah.
Because even though gaining life is cool, if in race situations maybe, it's not good when it's like a combat trick like Semi Healer is. So.
Yeah, but you could get in for a few points of damage early potentially with
Yeah,
this card.
it's
and then,
true.
like,
I don't
just
think it's particularly
back.
good. I could see myself playing it in limited though if I'm hard up for some creatures.
Mhm.
Stonehorn Chanter, 6 mana 4/4 Rhino Cleric, and then it's got 6 mana. It gains Vigilance and Lifelink until end of turn. What do you think about this card? I kind of like it.
It's cool. That effect is kind of expensive.
It is, and it's expensive to play, but I feel like this card's actually pretty playable.
Yeah. The sad thing about it is that the lifelink is so hard to get on defense. I think I would have been happier if it was 3 to get vigilance, 3 to get lifelink, and then you could just
Choose one or
activate
the other.
which ones you wanted.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
And then it would only cost 9 mana to be able to defend and always have lifelink with it.
Yeah, that's true. That's it is pretty pricey, but core sets typically have pricey cards that a little bit overcosted and not the greatest. Dismissing a Dream is kind of a cool card. 7 mana enchantment. Each creature your opponents control is an illusion in addition to its other types, and has when this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. It's kind of cool because it's similar to a card that we have from our set. I can even just show it real quick because we're going to talk about our set a little bit here. But where is it?
Mirrored.
Ours is a 5 mana enchantment, and this is before this card was spoiled too, so it's kind of strange that they have a similar effect on a blue enchantment.
They copied us, is what happened.
No, it's just we came up with the same kind of idea. But this is whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, you may put a token creature onto the battlefield. That's a copy of that creature, except it's an illusion in addition to its other types. And it has whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. And it's a 5 mana mythic enchantment. And it's a really strong effect, and definitely the one that they are putting in core set is a lot weaker. But
yeah, like vastly. But it is a rare. It only affects your opponent's creatures, and it makes them all susceptible to any targeted anything.
And some creatures just have abilities like that. Like I think before a good one to kill phantom creatures was that 2-drop 1/1 in blue that tapped to make them attack or block this turn.
Mm-hmm.
The Courtly Provocateur or whatever.
It was a 3-drop, right? 2 in a blue.
Yeah, maybe it was.
And because Alluring Siren was 1 in a blue.
That's the one I'm thinking of then.
Which
Alluring
is still
Siren.
fine.
Yeah, but that just was like a little Phantom Slayer. Just tapped to kill him. It was crazy. So like Phantom Dragon even became.
Yeah. God, Phantom Dragon's so good.
Otherwise.
Yeah.
When there's not, I guess, Alluring Siren.
Yeah, poor Phantom Dragon. It was so cool. I really like that
such a cheap dragon. Yeah, in core set too. Elite Arcanist. We haven't talked about him yet. He's pretty interesting. Let's zoom out a little bit. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile an instant card from your hand, and then it's got X and tap, copy the exiled card. You may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. X is the converted mana cost of the exiled card. It's a 4 mana 1/1. So it's pricey. I do like it. I think it's cool. It's probably
It's
really
cool
good
that
in Commander.
and it's cool that you get to copy it over and over and over again instead of just playing it for free or something like that.
In Limited, it's a little too difficult, I would say. It's a little too difficult to get it
build
online.
around in instant. So I don't think this is a first pick at all
No.
if you're drafting.
And you have to exile. It's like full on liability with it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's expensive. So Elite Arcanist has some issues, but it's a cool card like Flavorfully, and it would be played in. Maybe it would be played in Commander.
Oh, it's totally good for Commander because like you got guys like that depend on you casting spells. Tibor and Lumia is a good example. I'm sure there's more I can't think of.
Would be a deck that would be cool with
It's basically having another Isochron Scepter effect that doesn't care what the cost of your spell was.
That's true. That'd be fun. Maybe we're gonna make that. Who knows? Oh yeah. Speaking of which, we've been jamming some Commander, and it's cool. We had shout out to Demko for coming out and playing. And,
that was awesome.
And we've played with Exion too, who's been recording some Commander for the website. So
who won that game?
I ended up winning it.
Oh, okay.
Have we played with anybody else yet? It's cool when they jump in. So
yeah, it is cool when
if you want to just friend me and then hop in if you're just lucky enough, and you're online at the same time. We
stop at 4 usually.
Yeah, we're gonna. I don't know if we want to do more than that.
Yeah.
But we do a Commander game every once in a while. So if you're lucky and catch us at the right time, you can hop in and we'll let you play with us. So that'd be cool. We want to play with you guys too. See your Commander deck. See what you're playing. He was playing Karavek the Merciless, and I was playing Rurikthar, so we had
terrible. It was a terrible time.
Just pure punishment for playing spells.
Anything.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Tidebinder Mage. Let's get back on track here. 2 blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. When it enters the battlefield, tap target red or green creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Tidebinder Mage. This is part of a cycle they seem to be doing in the core set.
It's the Color Hose Rare cycle.
Yep. This card, pretty similar effect to Dungeon Geist, except it's more narrow. So Dungeon Geist was a 4 mana, we can just bring up a picture on it, 4 mana 3/3 flyer, and it just got to lock down a creature and did the same thing as this for as long as it was in play. This card saw some constructed play, then sort of disappeared for a long time. I mean, it's in Standard now, and it's totally not played. It's kind of interesting. So that tells me this card's not that relevant, since this is straight up a better creature since it's evasive, and it hits anything.
That card isn't relevant in Standard. That card is way more relevant for Legacy or Modern, where you have Tarmogoyf.
So probably Modern.
There's also Deathrite Shaman that gets played in Modern and Legacy that this could tap down. So, like, this is a good card, just not in Standard.
I see. Yeah, so it probably won't even see Sideboard play. I mean, there would have to be some sort of beatdown blue deck, and that seems pretty unlikely. Otherwise, this doesn't seem like a good control answer for anything.
No, it's not. It's not a control card.
Which is sad because it's in blue. So you typically blue cards that can't be played in a control deck really aren't played very much.
In Standard, because you have Merfolk in Legacy, and you can play Merfolk in Modern too.
Yeah, that's cool. The fish deck gets another tool they can use.
All
right.
And at 2 mana instead of at 3.
All right, this is an exciting little cycle I want to talk about. Overall they're pretty turdy cards, but they're fun. All right, so it's Bogbrew Witch.
I really wish she had a second ability.
Bogbrew Witch is part of a cycle. It's still fun, and it's good for a core set. Core sets typically just have crappy cards in general compared to the blocks. They make the
real magic.
Yeah, they make the blocks the more exciting ones. I think core sets are supposed to sort of represent where you're at in Magic. It's sort of set like a foundation for how the game is and what Magic is, because it's really to entice new players. It's got all the evergreen abilities in it, and then they do one unique.
They do a few different things. Like this one they've got a lot of interconnected cards in this one.
Don't they bring an ability back? sometimes,
yeah,
though.
Slivers is this one.
Yeah, so that's sort of a thing they'll
Yeah.
do, too. They'll bring one ability
They
back.
do returning abilities, yeah.
Yeah, like right now, the current one is, what was in M13? It was, what was the ability in M13?
Exalted.
That's right, and there's like 0 exalted spells being played right now, is that right?
Yes.
That's too bad.
Well, Blitz is
Even-
so much better than Exalted.
Yeah, and you have the Cathedral of War, but that's not even seeing
Yeah.
any play. Coming to play tapped is too slow.
Yeah, on a colorless land.
They were really safe about not letting it tap for mana.
Yeah, they didn't want you to play an Exalted creature on turn 2 with it.
Maybe it was because it would be better in other formats, like with Affinity.
Maybe.
'Cause then you could still use it and get in that extra point of damage early, and it's a colorless land still, maybe. I don't know, but anyway. Bogru Witch is a 4-mana 1/3 human wizard, and it's part of a cycle alongside Festering Newt and Bubbling Cauldron, and we'll get to them in a second, but her ability is 2 and tap, search your library for a card named Festering Newt or Bubbling Cauldron, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. She's overcosted. She's a 4-mana 1/3, and you have to pay for her ability. She's tough to use, especially at rare. So I don't even know if I'd first pick her necessarily. It's more of
If it's your opening pack, I think I would, because you
if
can
it's more-
build around it hard.
Yeah, it's more of a cute strategy. But Festering Newt is actually a good common.
Yeah.
It's a 1-mana 1/1. This is just straight up a new creature type attached to Festering Goblin, which is it's just identical except for the new claws on it. But it's when Festering Newt dies, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. That creature gets -4/-4 instead if you control a creature named Bogru Witch. Kind of cool. And then Bubbling Cauldron is it's an artifact. An artifact. I think it costs 2 to play. Yeah. Costs 2 to play, uncommon. 1 and tap, sack a creature, you gain 4 life. And then 1 and tap, sacrifice a creature named Festering Newt. Each opponent loses 4 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So it's kind of cool. It's not a bad card.
Yeah, because if you have all 3 of them out and you use this,
It's anti mind control abilities. It's anti what else is it? It protects from removal. If they're gonna remove it anyway, you can get rewarded 4 life off of it if you have the mana open.
Mhm.
If they have a combat trick and you're gonna lose your creature and not trade, just sack it, gain 4.
Mhm.
It's pretty cool. I think it's actually a pretty playable card if you don't have the 3 cards. But I like that the uncommon interacts with the common.
Yeah,
So if you just get these 2 and you don't pick up the witch, it's not that bad.
right. You get -1/-1.
But that's kind of a little like cute thing they put in this this set, and maybe we'll try it out. If we open a draft video, why not see if it's actually? It feels so slow.
It does.
It feels way too slow. Bogru Witch is the rare, and it feels like the worst part of the
The combo, yeah, it does. It does. It's true.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The rare should have been the best part. She should have been like 2 mana with a 2 and tap ability. Making her 4 mana seems wholly unnecessary. She is a black creature, but make her a 2 mana 1/1 then. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just give her the ability. Make the ability like reasonable to do early.
Yeah, she's a total turd.
It's too clunky. Okay, so that's enough on the Bogru Witch rant. It is cool though.
It is fun, yeah.
It's flavorfully cool. Obviously, it would like never make constructed. It's just way too dirty for constructed.
I shudder to think.
Yeah,
someone
that your
using
4
that
mana
one.
1/3 with a 2 and tap ability would be good enough. I mean, it is like searching your library for a card and actually putting it on the battlefield. It's just neither of those cards is like that great on its own.
No.
So if you're putting them in your deck, your constructed deck would be sad enough.
Mm-hmm.
That you'd have to play your 1 mana 1/1 and your 2 mana artifact that just sacks creatures you control. They're too narrow.
Yeah, they are.
So interesting, but alright, let's look at Blight Caster. We can talk about this. 4 mana 2/3 human wizard. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you may have target creature get -2/-2 until end of turn. So if you didn't know already, Jake's kind of speculating that Theros may have a enchantment theme of some sort.
Mm.
There's a couple cards now already spoiled in Core Set that sort of had interaction with enchantment spells.
Yeah.
Like there's one green one whenever, maybe we're going to come up on it, but whenever you cast an enchantment spell, I think it's put a +1/+1 counter on a creature
Something
you
like
control,
that,
something
yeah.
along those lines, but it's also an enchantment.
Yeah. And
So
like
it does it
having,
on itself. That's what it is. It does it on
Yeah.
itself and other enchantments.
Yeah, that's right. And then there's this one in black that makes no sense, you know, as far as that. I mean, Return to Ravnica does have an enchantment theme, but the original Ravnica had an enchantment theme as well. But, like, it's a subdued enchantment theme and almost more based on auras. There's a lot more auras in Return to Ravnica than there are in normal Magic sets.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like this black card in particular, when was the last time you saw a black card that even interacted with enchantments at all?
It's been a while. Like, what are some black enchantments in general that, I mean, you can even think of?
Well, Dark Prophecy out of this set is the one where when a creature dies.
Okay. So historically, there's been more like Phyrexian Arena, Pestilence,
Yeah.
Gloom.
Mm-hmm. Gloom is the one that interacts with enchantments.
Yeah, you're right.
And
Originally.
Irene Singer, she also stopped blue and green, or
So it's
white and green enchantments.
Yeah, so it's actually a really old black ability.
Mm-hmm.
But those made them more expensive or countered them.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Works
kill
with
creatures,
them. Yeah. So, in my opinion, because this is so outrageously out of the color pie, and I suspect we'll probably see a red one too.
I kind of like it though.
Yeah,
actually.
it is cool. But
like with a dead weight or something.
yeah. But I just think that's pretty indicative of what's coming next, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
I don't think it's good enough for constructed. It's a little too narrow. It is removal and limited though, so I could see it being really good there.
Mm-hmm.
If you just get like 5 or 6 enchantments, you turn it into.
Aren't they bringing back one of the removal spell enchantments?
I don't know.
Maybe not.
Let's see if it's on the list here. Lifebane Zombie is the next one we're talking about. This is also in that cycle we were talking about. This is a 3-mana 3/1 Intimidate. When Lifebane Zombie enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a green or white creature card from it and exile that card. Really good card. 3-mana 3/1 in black. Intimidate, so it has evasion, and it has the chance to. It is kind of a narrow band of what it hits, but still, you get to see their hand, so it's a peek, and you get the chance to take a green or white creature card. So I like this.
And if you are playing against a green or white opponent, then
I would very easily
getting in with
I think this could be a very easy first pick in limited.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would take this over.
Intimidate is really strong.
I would take this over removal because it has the chance to be removal, plus it's a very efficient creature for black. So I like it quite a bit. Cool picture too.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Nice battle axe. The old battle axe.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
So they're bringing Nightmare back. It's a very old card. Was it first printed in Revised or?
Alpha? I think it was Alpha.
It was straight up Alpha, huh?
Yeah, they didn't print new cards in Revised. They just changed what
all the old
core set was.
That's cool.
Or Revised added more cards and took out some of like the Power 9 or whatever.
The original wording. Nightmare's power and toughness both equal the number of swamps its controller has in play. Both equal the number of swamps its controller has in play. Some strange wording nowadays. I actually like the original picture a lot, though.
I do too.
I thought it was
one of the like
iconic ones. Too.
Yeah, one of my favorite arts actually.
Very, very good art. Awesome looking steed.
That one doesn't look like it flies.
Yeah, I guess it's not as cool as it. That's sad.
Yeah.
But it's an old card. 6-mana star, flying. Power and toughness are each equal to the number of swamps you control. So, unfortunately, pretty narrow in how you use it, but there's a couple cards now leading toward a mono black strategy in limited. There's Nightmare, but there's also the
Quag Sickness. That was the one I was thinking of.
Quag Sickness is a 3-mana aura. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1 for each swamp you control. So that would work very well alongside the what's his face? The dude we just named, Blightcaster. Let's talk about Shadowborn Apostle again, just because I think it's Fascinating. So it's a 1-mana 1/1 human cleric, and a deck can have any number of cards named Shadowborn Apostle. And then it's got, is that, I can't see on this picture what it's
2
saying.
black.
Oh, it's just 1 black and sack 6 creatures named Shadowborn Apostle, and you can search your library for a demon creature and put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. Now, I saw Patrick Chapin actually made a list for Battle of Wits with Shadowborn Apostle, and it had like Gristlebrand's in it. It looked fun.
That's interesting.
hmm
How many Shadowborn Apostles did he play?
It was a ton. I don't remember.
200?
Probably something crazy like that.
No, because that's like all your lands then too. Battle of Wits is a retarded card. Don't play.
It is in standard right now, though. It might be the last opportunity to do it. Usually drags tournaments out to the dismay of everybody. Still, Shadowborn's cool, and it's the only other card printed besides Relentless Rats that has this weirdo ability that a deck can have any number of them. So what we should talk about the Magic Online thing. So apparently Relentless Rats doesn't work in Commander games online.
Well, not yet. Hopefully they'll fix that.
Yeah, but it should be you can have any number in your Commander deck, correct? So you could technically make a Relentless Rats Commander deck.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Scary.
You think it's it'd be a pretty dumb Commander deck.
It'd be boring. You'd do it once and be bored of it, I feel like.
Who's your commander?
Well, the best commander, in my opinion, is Maronar or whatever.
What's he do?
He can sack a rat to put X rats onto the battlefield.
Is it that kind of Marrow, or is it?
Marrow. Like, no. Marro.
They have the 2 different types of Marrow, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Maronar. 5 mana, 2/3. All rats have fear. Tap, sack a rat, put X 1/1 black rat creature tokens into play where X the number of rats you control. Rat. Just keep saying rat on it. It's a cool card. I like that. It's a good call. That'd be a fun one with Relentless. They're so expensive. I mean, you could supplement it with some other stuff too, though, I guess.
You could definitely play Lab Rats.
Bad Moon.
Thrumming Stone.
Thrumming Stone for sure.
You could play like probably 40 Relentless Rats, 20 other cards, and 40 Swamps. You know? And I think you'd be good. And there are some pretty choice rats like Throat Slitter and like some of the other ninjas.
What's the ninjutsu?
Oni or Ink Eyes. Servant
That's
of the
what I'm
Oni.
thinking of, yeah.
She's really good too.
Definitely in Commander too. I could see that being really good. Tenacious Dead. It's kind of funny that it's called Tenacious Dead because like Tenacious D. I think they definitely had that in mind when they made the name. But it's a 1 mana 1/1. Yeah, it's Jack Black. He had a part of it. In fact, the art was done by Jack Black. Lesser known. It's John Stanko. A little bit of a bad name.
Yeah.
Perfectly fitting for Magic, though.
Yeah, ironically.
Stanko. 1 mana 1/1 skeleton warrior. When it dies, you may pay 1 and a black. If you do, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. It's crappy. Reassembling Skeleton was a 2 mana 1/1, and it had 2 mana. You could return it from the graveyard to your battlefield. This isn't that. It shouldn't be uncommon either. Yeah, I don't like any part of this.
It's 1 mana.
But it's a 1 mana 1/1.
Yeah.
With a pseudo ability.
Yeah, it's actually very much like Regen, except that you get by like sacrifice.
That's true. It has some perks, but I think because you only get the one-time uncontrollable use of it. I mean, sometimes you can control it, but
it's like regeneration in that I don't think it's as bad as you think it is, because if it's not like reassembling Skeleton, it's like regeneration. You have to be prepared to regen your guy or not.
But it's not regeneration in that you only get
one chance to do it.
Yeah, you only get you get one opportunity to use it, and it's only based on I don't know. Maybe you're right. It's
not,
weird that they didn't do regen then. If it's
no,
that close.
because this can be sacrificed and brought back. That's the whole point.
I see. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so like it's actually, I don't want to call it better because I see your point of what you're saying. And the other thing is, if Rest in Peace is out, it goes away completely because it has to go to your graveyard. It
Well,
doesn't get to keep counters or auras like regen. You know,
yeah.
equipment falls off of it.
Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Actually, I think you're right. I think it's more. I mean, if you don't have the mana up for regen, then you can't regen it either.
Mm-hmm.
So you really just have to keep 2 mana up anyway.
But like, it should be noted that you can actually sacrifice this guy and pay 2 extra to get him back. So if you have an effect that lets you sacrifice a creature like Cauldron, you can pay 3 mana, get him back, gain 4 life, and block with him.
I guess reassembling's cool because you can still sack effects with it, and it works well.
Yeah, but this is 1 mana, so it is cheaper.
Yeah.
You only get the 1 opportunity to do it, so it is similar to regen.
I think I'd prefer reassembling still.
And reassembling is better, for sure. This is just different.
So maybe that's kind of why I was like a little bit disappointed with it. It's the same. It is pretty much the same as regen. It's close to the same as regen. You're right, but it's not bring it back from your graveyard to the battlefield because reassembling skeleton was actually involved in some decks where there was some self-mill involved, and then it was like I think there was a deck.
At the end of turn.
Yeah, and it was like equip swords to it.
Yeah.
So it was like a bunch of cool equipment and then self-mill to get your reassembling skeletons that keep coming back. So this can't do that. Vampire Warlord. This is a 5 mana 4/2 Vampire Warrior. Sack another creature and you regenerate him. So he's like the Bloodthrone Vampires, the Falcon Wrath.
He's like rusted,
not aristocrats, but
he's like rusted
tortures and.
What was that thing called? Rusted Slasher? Wasn't that 4 mana 4/1 sack an artifact regen it?
Yeah.
So he's like actually.
So this card's like, I mean, this card's definitely limited playable.
Yeah.
It's just how do you think it stacks up against the other?
Compared to any other creature with this type of effect, I'd rather have any other creature. But this is playable and limited.
Yeah. Wait. What are some other cards that stack? I'm thinking of the cards. I thought Bloodthrone, but no, that's one that gets pumped from sacking.
Yeah.
So what are some other ones that have regen?
Well, Rusted Slasher and Falcon Wrath Aristocrat are the 2 most comparable.
Yeah, that has sack on it too. Viscera Seer also, I guess, has another sack creature, but
sack and regen.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's something.
There's got to be some more.
That I can't remember because they had Grixis there.
But it's a vampire, so it's an irrelevant creature type to its colors. So I think limited playable, yes, probably. I could see it good with like a bunch of tokens or a bunch of cheap creatures. Barrage of Expendables. This is new in red. Interesting enchantment. It's 1 red enchantment, sacrifice, and it's got 1 red, sack a creature, and it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So it basically turns all your creatures into little Mog Fanatics. What do you think? What do you think about it?
It's cool. It's a good way to fix Goblin Bombardment, which is like free sacrifice is just way too good, you know.
I see.
But
that just let you sack goblins to deal damage?
No, just sacrifice a creature to deal 1 damage to target creature or player.
Oh, it was any creature?
Yeah, and for 2 mana enchantment.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a combo with Enduring Renewal and Ornithopter.
Oh, I see. That's yeah, keep doing it for free.
Each turn, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Or each time.
Yeah, so that's crazy. But this one's, I think, going to be limited playable. I think it's...
Yeah, oh, for sure, limited playable.
You could find some good opportunities to use it.
Probably not bad if you're playing
you want
aggro and in constructed even against an aggro deck, where you can do some like attrition plays or whatever with it.
Definitely. I like it. You can use it as a combat trick. So I think this card's actually pretty good for limited. You're going to have a creature heavy deck. It's not going to work so well outside of that, but this is cool. This is cool because it turns off as far as we know, it's going to turn off the white ability for, what's its name? The new Banisher Priest. So the new Fiend Hunter that's in core set is 3 mana, 2/2 Human Cleric. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Banisher Priest leaves the battlefield. So we think that that's just like, I think that's just a static effect now.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to close that loophole.
Yep.
However,
but we don't know that
I don't
for a
think
fact.
they're going to. I don't think they're going to be able to go back and retro change anything because, everything had 2 separate ability lines written out on it. So it'll be similar to how you couldn't go back and change lifelink on all of those cards that have essentially lifelink.
Yeah, the old cards that stack with lifelink.
Yeah, those cards. Or stack with each other even.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to be able to do that. So cards like Oblivion Ring and stuff, they're probably going to have to come up with a new card instead of Oblivion Ring that will be Oblivion Ring in this wording.
I see.
Eventually.
I'm probably okay with that.
Yeah.
It's not like the loophole was that big of a deal. It was always kind of funny and cool when you saw it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't need to be in the game.
But I think the thing about it is that because you're like playing with the stack in a way that's making you, I don't know, you're like making the stack work in your favor on things that you can control, and I think that like for new players,
it's a turn off.
Yeah, to be juked by that for the first time is kind of like, oh,
this game's stupid.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't like that.
That's funny, but I do think, we don't know it for a fact, we're just sort of speculating because that's the way the wording looks, that they're making that a static effect, which I do like.
Yeah.
That just it's way more intuitive that way. I think that's way more how like people would think it should work. That is how it should work. So we were talking about Barrage of Expendables, so this would be a card that you could abuse with that loophole otherwise. You could be like, 4 mana, I'll play this, exile that, kill that guy, or whatever. So I don't think you can do that anymore.
We'll see, because we actually don't know until they
say what the new rules are.
Until they specifically call that one out.
We might be able to check out Daily MTG, but I don't know for a fact that they would have those new rules.
It'll be in the pre-release primer for sure. So it'll have to be out either tomorrow, Monday, or it'll be out sometime this week.
Okay.
Because they'll need to explain how that rule works now on that card. And there's a couple other cards that have that same wording. The blue Tappa, what is that? Tidebinder Mage.
Oh yeah, the new Dungeon Geist guy or whatever.
That one is.
I didn't realize that. Let me look at his wording. It's unique wording though. When it enters the battlefield, tap target red or green creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Tidebinder Mage. Did they always? Well,
no, that's similar. I think it is.
Well, let's read Dungeon Geist. Is it? Let's see if this one says. Yep, yeah, for as long as you control. Okay.
No, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I must have read it wrong the first time I glanced at it.
I don't know if there might be some other cards in this set though that have different wording. I'm not sure. But let's look at Briarpack Alpha. This is a reprint from Dark Ascension.
It's a good reprint.
Yeah, and core set especially, it's going to be very strong. This was always like a slam first pick in along those times. And I guess maybe if you weren't in green, but Briarpack Alpha is just an amazing card. It's 4 mana, 3/3 flash. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And it's actually funny. It's a more acceptable reprint of Briarhorn. Briarhorn was a 4 mana, 3/3 flash. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. And it had Evoke for 2.
Yeah, when they spoiled Briarpack Alpha, people were like, oh, what a shitty card. It's like, so strictly worse than Briarhorn? It's like, yeah, they can actually go back on the things that they've done in the past that they know were too good.
Yeah,
and this is one of them.
Briarhorn's hilarious because if it just had Flash and its ability, the Evoke wouldn't matter, and nobody should ever be evoking this creature.
You evoke this only when it's going to kill your opponent, and you don't have 4 mana.
Yeah, because otherwise, 2 more mana, and you get a 3/3...
Or save your life, if somehow it's going to save your life.
You get a 3/3, like, surprise blocker, plus a boost in a combat
and a lot of times, it itself was a 6/6 surprise blocker that like your opponent was just waltzing into with whatever their biggest changeling guy was.
Totally.
Because all of the good champion and creature changelings were like pretty big. You know, the red one.
Yeah, Briarhorn was incredibly good.
Yeah.
But Briarpack Alpha, obviously worse. It just does +2/+2.
It's very strong,
but it's still very good.
It's very fair compared to Briarhorn, in my opinion, too. Briarhorn was just like, it's a great green card, and I'm not like saying Briarhorn is broken at all, because totally give green that shit. Like, let them have great cards. But, you know, it didn't need to be that good, and Briarpack Alpha is a good compromise, in my opinion.
I think so too, and it's going to be really good in core set, and I still bet it's like a slam first pick. It was an awesome card. Love that ability in green. Usually flash in green ends up with a pretty good card.
I'm always a fan of
maybe not usually, but a lot. I can think of quite a few.
I'm always a fan of giving green.
Wolfer Avenger with the regen, that one always was really good. Yeah, great surprise in, and then leave up regen mana. We've got Oath of the Ancient Wood. Let's check this out. We'll have to talk about the Planeswalkers too. Oath of the Ancient Wood. Different language, but picture's kind of cool.
Yerman.
It's a 3-mana enchantment. This is the one we were talking about earlier. Whenever Oath of the Ancient Wood or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So I was actually right. It's a cool card. It triggers, or at least does something when you play it, if you have a creature, and it'll reward you if you have more enchantments in the deck. So, what do you think for limited?
It's a different twist on
Verter and Enchantress and stuff that like got you card draw.
The whole thing about it is like it's great with a Verter and Enchantress out on the battlefield, but at the same time, it's like you have to be playing enchantments to get benefit from this card, but then you also have to have creatures to even make the card worth playing.
That's true. They should have made enchantment creators or something like that.
Well, they should have just made. Then that actually might be the direction. Well, no, I think they said that was lame, and they didn't. They were like, it didn't even make. What made this an enchantment creature? That was what Mark Rosewater said. Like, why was Lucent Luminate or whatever an enchantment creature? What made it an enchantment? You know.
But, I mean, you make a good point, though. Are you supposed to be playing creatures or enchantments?
Yeah, exactly. But, like, they could have made this a creature.
This is actually good with that 4-mana 2/3 dude that punishes when you play enchantments. So it's like, kill the creature, make him bigger.
Yeah. That's very true, yeah. But this could have been a creature, too, that even, like,
boost itself?
It just didn't have the thing when it came in. You know?
I think you're right.
Whenever an enchantment enters.
This would have been a cool creature.
Yeah.
When it enters.
Not when it enters. Just make it a 3-mana 2/2. It's a gray ogre.
3-mana 2/2, and when you play an enchantment, you get a +1/+1. Yeah, I like it.
Like enchantments. But whatever. This is. I mean, it's fine, but it is like. So you only get to play enchantments and creatures in your deck because that's what you have to work with.
Witch Stalker. You didn't like the picture on this card. Talked about this during the podcast a little, or not the podcast, the live stream one of the days. But this is a 3-mana 3/3 hexproof. Whenever an opponent casts a blue or black spell during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Witch Stalkers. This is part of that same cycle. You don't like the picture, but what do you think about the card?
It's cool.
Do you think it's good enough for constructed? Because it's a pretty efficient.
It's a really efficient like hexproof guy. I like that. However.
It's only a blue or black spell.
And during your turn.
I guess during your turn is what makes it narrow enough. But blue and black does play spells during your turn fairly free. It at least makes them do stuff on their turn.
I mean, yeah.
The ability is pseudo-relevant. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But as a 3-mana 3/3 hexproof, it might be good enough to play.
Yeah. I guess.
Could be.
I guess.
I'm trying to think of other hexproofers that efficient. It's not a lot that come to mind.
No, it is a good efficient creature. And it probably could just be played on the fact that it's a 3/3, you can't touch it, you know, my creature. But I'm not that impressed with this color hose, and it's always been like hardest to color hose blue and black, in my opinion, because they can just always play around what you are trying to do.
And they have like global wipe effects too.
Well, yeah, and blue has Cyclonic Rift right now, black has
and Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, and Supreme Verdict. So it's just like hosing blue-black has always been very difficult. Autumn's Veil, in my opinion, is the best way to hose blue-black.
Yeah, that one was a good one
Because
because it was
like,
only one man.
oh, and
Yeah.
surprise! Like, you thought you were going to do this, but it did not happen for you, did it?
Yeah, that one was a good sideboard
Yeah.
card. That panned out for me,
Mhm.
especially if you had two.
Mhm.
If you had the two backup, because they were always so proud they had the second counterspell.
Oh god, that card was so good. Autumn's Veil is very good. I really wish they would have just like done that, but that's fine. This card's fine.
Door of Destinies is coming back. Cool card. This card still sells fairly well.
Mhm.
Frequently. It's a 4-mana artifact. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on it. You know where I like this? I like this in zombies with like Gravecrawler and Diregraph.
Yeah, very good with, and even Geralt's Messenger.
There's tons of cheap zombies right now.
Oh, it's you have to cast the spell. Okay, never mind. But it's really good with Gravecrawler for sure.
Because you're casting that from your graveyard. So it still is fine though. I mean, the problem with Door is it's too expensive.
Yeah, it's like.
But at least with Gravecrawler, it would give you something
late game to
do.
Boost him with.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other zombie. There's no other like fantastic zombie. It's not whenever a zombie enters the battlefield. Yeah, that would have been cool alongside some cards that pump out zombies, like the 4-mana Innistrad one that puts two zombies.
Oh yeah, that would have been really great with that.
I don't know why I can't think of the name of it right now.
Moan of the Unhallowed.
Yeah.
And it was so cool.
And it's got flashback.
Card. Yeah. What an awesome card, actually.
Super efficient in black. That was a very easy first pick sometimes. If you had to be pretty deep black, but I love that card. Haunted Plate Mail, I like this card a lot too. 4-mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+4, and then 0 until end of turn. Haunted Plate Mail becomes a 4/4 spirit artifact creature that's no longer an equipment. Activate this ability only if you control no creatures. And then it equips for 4. So you can. I like it.
It's sweet, yeah.
It's a great card.
I love flavor.
And it's just a strong equipment in general. Just equipping it for 4 and giving +4/+4. That's really good.
In limited, yeah. This is gonna be a house. This could maybe even be constructed playable.
It doesn't. This is permanent though. This ability where it turns it into a 4/4 spirit.
Until end of turn, Haunted Plate.
Okay.
A 4/4 spirit artifact creature.
I didn't see the until end of turn in the beginning.
Yeah.
I see. So it's not a permanent effect.
Yeah. So you can actually
really
play
cool,
it in control next to like Supreme Verdicts and shit, and be totally fine with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. This could be constructed playable. The fact that you can equip it too and make something huge, like a lifelinker or something,
works well with. Dare I say Gideon, like
Rock's Faith Mender,
where you can activate it as a creature and then attack with Gideon as well, or whatever after wogging.
Yeah, it's true.
But
and Gids.
I hate to say that Gideon might be good.
Dare you say?
I like Millstone at uncommon.
Yeah, me too.
That's the right place for that.
Shouldn't be rare anymore. This is great milk art at uncommon. You pick up a couple of them. It's clunky, but it's good. Yeah, but getting like 4 a turn would end people really fast. I mean, it's still definitely weaker than like Sands of Delirium Unlimited, which just feels dirty. Pyromancer's Gauntlet. This card's cool. I wanted to talk about this. 5-mana artifact. If a red instant or sorcery spell you control or a red planeswalker you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +2 to that permanent or player instead. Kind of a cool card. It's expensive, but I like it flavorfully. Makes your spell stronger.
I like it. I'm glad that they're like pushing this kind of Chandra thing, and
yeah, well, we'll talk about Chandra. We can talk about the Planeswalkers last.
I wish they would have done like more of that in the past, where they would focus on one Planeswalker and give like an artifact for them, because like they focused on Nicobolas in the last one, and they gave Gemma Becoming, so that was cool, because that's like strictly a Nicobolas artifact. But if they had done it when they were focusing on Gideon in M11, and they had focused on a different Planeswalker each time, it would have been really cool to see some of their their equipment, essentially.
That's true. Are they going to do this anymore? You think?
I think they'll probably continue to do it because they seem to like to do this focus on one and get people geared up for one planeswalker out of the set or whatever, even if they're adding new ones. Like Soren came in with Gideon in M11, but Gideon was like the centerpiece to that set, and all the marketing was about Gideon, you know. And the same with the M13 and Nicol Bolas, and now this with Chandra. So I think they're going in that direction with it.
I see. I like it. The artifacts that coincide with planeswalkers, or cards in general that affect planeswalkers. How many have we seen now? There's still a very narrow. Funny enough, Tarmogoyf was the first card to have planeswalker printed in its text, and it was in its reminder text about how its ability worked.
How it counted that as a card type and tribal too.
And we were like, at that time it was very interesting because there were no planeswalkers, and everybody was like, "Whoa, planeswalker!" So
that was their way of hinting, because that slot was actually originally going to go to Garruk, the planeswalker, but they hadn't nailed down planeswalkers yet.
What are some other cards that name planeswalker? The only that come to mind are Dreadbore.
Chandra's Phoenix.
Yeah, you're right. That one does specifically mention planeswalkers.
There's got to be another one.
But there's very few.
It's a small amount because originally they were like, we don't want to make cards that just outright destroy planeswalkers because you're a planeswalker. And now they're coming around to the point where it's like, well,
we can see it.
Yeah.
Because Dreadbore is straight up destroyed.
Dreadbore calls it out. And it's like, wow, you killed my friend, you know, but that's not really what happens in the whole aspect. Whenever your planeswalker leaves the battlefield, it's really like they're done with this battle. They're fleeing the battle. So when you Dreadbore a planeswalker, you're really just making them run away from the plane, basically. But you do put them in the graveyard.
It's just the shell of them.
Yeah, their
essence still can come back. What else have we got? I think Stratic Resonator. This card's really cool. We're trying to think of all the sick applications of it.
You know, you can get the Jace Plus ability to trigger twice, so you can Marsh Gas your opponents if you have plus to your Jace.
Oh, I see, because that does trigger on their turn. Cool.
So any effects like that trigger when something, like any planeswalker effect that causes a trigger, it works with.
Well, any comes into play effect, sort of. Well, I guess those are triggered effects.
No, they're triggered abilities.
Okay.
There's no such thing as an effect, like unless it's like
an effect is just something that's like static on a card
by an ability. That's an effect.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what are static things on cards? Cards that just have
their abilities, but they're just abilities.
Just gray abilities, no sort of.
They're not. Because triggered and activated, there are situations to get them to go. Static abilities are just abilities, like static abilities.
Okay.
You know? So you don't say loses all static abilities, triggered abilities. You know, you just say loses all abilities. And even like triggered abilities are abilities on the card, but then once they trigger, then they're a triggered ability. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, this would be cool alongside something like that. Well, let's talk about cards in the core set. It would be cool with. Be cool with the 2/3 enchant whenever you play an enchantment guy.
Yeah,
and double up on that.
The other enchantment.
Yeah, it'd be cool with the enchantment. Boost more. Are there a lot of triggered abilities in general? Lifebane Zombie. It would work with that, right?
Yes.
So you can double trigger and remove 2 green creatures.
I think it works for all of those, even the
It works with the
Tide,
the priest, the Banisher priest.
Yep, and the Tidebinder Mage.
So all of those guys, you can double up. The priest would be sick.
Yeah, the priest would be really sick.
Exile 2 creatures. I guess they'd get them both back though.
Yeah.
If it died, it's still really interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like if you look at historic Magic cards, you're gonna find some very interesting things with Stratic Resonator. I think this is sure to be a big hit in Commander for any people that really want to go outside the box and find cool triggered abilities
to
use alongside this.
Like, somebody is going to make their Stratic Resonator, whatever, Norn the Wary deck with Pandemonium and Warstorm Surge
So
and
you can
stuff.
just, yeah.
Shock things every time.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of cool with Warstorm Surge.
Mm-hmm.
Copy the damage for creatures entering. I like that. Or even Where Ancients Tread.
Mm-hmm. The Vicious Shadows would be a really good one for EDH in particular. Because there's usually you can kill people with Vicious Shadows just by playing a mass removal spell. But like even if one creature dies and you get to double that effect. Because it's sudden impact each time a creature dies for Vicious Shadows. So you get to whenever a creature dies, sudden impact somebody.
Wow, that's really cool. So
Yeah.
this affects instants and sorceries as well?
Mm-mm.
They don't, they never...
They sometimes generate a triggered effect later on or something, and you could copy that. So something that said at end of turn, like in our set, this creature must attack or block, and then at end of turn bounce it. You could double up on the end of turn thing.
I see. Okay. So they can have a...
They can generate a triggered effect, like a delayed effect, or a delayed ability, I guess, that happens later on.
But you can't copy it, or you can't?
You can copy that, but you won't be able to copy like the actual spell or any of the stuff that happens.
Oh, okay. But this card can affect... I mean, this card can play with any card type, almost, right? Any card type.
Mm-hmm.
This could play with, like lands and...
Oh, yeah.
If they... Like, any card type that would have a triggered ability, and any card type can have a triggered ability, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a land that might have a triggered ability.
I mean, I'm sure there's cards...
Oh, like Valakut has a triggered ability on it.
Yeah, so you could copy that.
And what's the other one?
I think
the
that's...
white one
yeah.
from that set.
I think that's why this is cool.
Is it called Amiria? Skyrune?
Yeah, Amiria the Skyrune, where you have the control of the planes and you get to return it. That's really cool.
For this.
That's why this is cool, because I feel like that's why it's going to be a hit in Commander, because it interacts with, like, you can technically find card types, any card type, instants and sorceries and artifacts, enchantments, lands, and you'll find triggered abilities everywhere. So you can find little cool interactions for it. I like that. It's not as narrow as it may look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
In Limited, it's probably pretty narrow. But
yeah, it's like strictly build around. So I would imagine those would go pretty late in Limited.
But I feel like there's some nerds out there who are going to have a lot of fun with that card. They're going to find some cool stuff. All right. Let's do Encroaching Wastes. Tap, add colors to your mana pool. 4 in tap, sacrifice Encroaching Wastes. Destroy target non-basic land. So the last destruction land we saw was Ghost Quarter in
Innistrad.
Okay. What was the last one in Core Set? Was there any in M13? It was just Buried Ruin? Or was that M12? I think that was M13, right?
One of them. I think it was M13.
Oh, it's M12.
Oh,
okay. So what was the last one? The Core Set land?
I know. There's got to be something that nobody's playing. Can't think of it.
M13 land. Oh, Cathedral of War.
Oh, that's right.
So they didn't have a destruction spell in M13. So they sort of... It's actually been a while since I guess a Core Set had a non-basic land destruction. We saw Tectonic Edge in Worldwake, which was 1 in tap, and you could destroy a non-basic land if they had 4 or more lands. And that one was actually sick, because if you had it in multiples, the turn they had 4 lands, you could activate it. Yeah, because sacrifice was part of the cost, too. So even though you were losing 2 lands, sometimes it was to your advantage.
And there was another way to juke them, too, where they had a tech edge. Oh, if they went first, and so you had 3 lands when they played their tech edge, you could then play your tech edge and sack it, and sack another tech edge that you had to, like, get rid of their tech edge and something else. Or whatever. There were a lot of cool plays you could do with tech edge.
Yeah, and it's I swear, it sees some modern play. In Control decks, maybe it's like a 1-of or something like that.
It fights Tron pretty well.
I feel like this is definitely weaker than Tectonic Edge. Even though this lets you destroy it at any time, it's kind of expensive. I could actually see it being cool in a green Rampy deck, because they would have the least amount of issues using it, most likely.
Yeah, I could see that.
So some sort of green, rampy, stompy deck, I could see using this. Let's talk about the Planeswalkers. Then we can talk about our set. Chandra Pyromaster. So she is kind of the one that they're hyping, as you were talking about earlier with the Pyromancer gauntlets, stuff like that. 4 mana, 4 loyalty, Planeswalker. +1, Chandra Pyromaster deals 1 damage to target creature and 1 damage to up to 1 target creature that player controls. Or, excuse me, deals 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to up to 1 target creature that player controls. That creature can't block this turn. Then it has 0. Exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. -7. Exile the top 10 cards of your library. Choose an instant or sorcery card exiled this way and copy it 3 times. You may cast the copies without paying their mana costs. So what do you think about her?
Meh. I like her first 2 abilities a lot. Her last ability is pretty lackluster.
Not good enough?
Like, what am I going to get off of that that's going to kill my opponent 3 times? You know, like Thunderous Wrath or whatever, you know?
It does feel like it takes her a long time to get to ultimate.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was like 6.
Yeah, and you exile those cards, so you're never going to get them back. You know?
So it even hurts you. You don't even get to like shuffle them back in.
Yeah, it's not like you got to put them back into your library or put them on the bottom in any order or a random order at the end. You don't get those cards back.
I guess it makes more sense with her second ability because
Yeah.
she already exiles the top card, so it's sort of like.
I see what you're saying, except that it doesn't really work with her second ability per se. I guess it does make sense, but it should have been exile the top 10 cards of your library, choose an instant or sorcery card exiled this way, and you may cast that card, and if you do, like, copy it twice, and you may choose new copies for the targets or whatever, and then put everything on the bottom of your library. Put everything else on the bottom of your library. Or something.
Yeah.
I really don't like exile, but, I mean...
She's cool flavorful.
Yeah, she's the best Chandra yet, I'd say. The fact that she...
I still like Nalar the most, the original. I think they did a great job with Chandra Nalar. She felt red. She was certainly playable. She wasn't too good. I don't know why they ditched on that plan.
She got up there quickly. It's because they wanted something that red deck wins could play, and this new Chandra is definitely more playable than that.
Unfortunately, it's not good enough for red deck. Straight up gonna say it.
Yeah,
not
but you can deal a damage and force a creature not to block, you know.
Or maybe like a one-of, but it's just not doing enough. I feel like it's maybe sideboard.
But then you also get to exile cards and play them.
Yeah, I mean,
red deck, it gives you draw.
That's true. It's like, but that's the issue. Red deck has one plan. Their plan is kill you, so this doesn't work towards that plan efficiently enough at 4 mana. That's what I think it is.
I see.
Because it's like, maybe against control, you'd want to pack like 1 of, 2 of, possibly, because then you're right, it's giving you free spells.
Mm-hmm.
But even against control, you want to just be able to kill them by turn 5. You don't want to go to the... This like prepares you for the long game against control. You don't want that.
Yeah, but if they don't deal with her and you get to do her -7, I suppose, against control, that is the deck you want to bash them with 3 spells at once with, you know.
I think my main issue with her is I think she's too slow for red deck. I think she's not enough value for the mid-range decks that need just super value cards to win. And she doesn't do anything for control in terms of stopping aggressive
my
creatures.
biggest problem
So
with her is
the
that
3
like,
main archetypes that you want to be looking at, she doesn't work with any of them good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my biggest problem is, like, here's another Planeswalker that we have that doesn't protect itself hardly at all. You know, pinging their 1 toughness guys helps you marginally at best. And exiling the top card of your library is only good if you know what it's going to be. I mean, to protect itself. That's what I should say.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a fine direction to go in. But I think that actually the other thing that I was saying was that the exile a top card of your library thing, it almost feels like that's not what it was. I was thinking about Garrick. his new form. I think they could have done a totally new Planeswalker on instead of doing Garruk.
Yeah, we got to talk about Garruk too. But overall, I'd rate this Chandra for limited. She's going to be a very high pick. She'll be excellent in limited. For constructed, I don't think she's good enough. I don't think we're going to see her. For Commander, awesome card. I really like that 0 ability a lot in Commander, getting the extra spells and all that. But constructed, I'm going to say not good enough. I'm interested to see if Red Deck could make her work. I don't buy it. Sideboard at best. Garruk, the new one, kind of a cool card. There's 2 pictures on MTG Salvation, and we sort of pictured that this is like a special event one you're going to be getting.
Well, not that we're going to get. That one is exclusive to Comic-Con in San Francisco or San Diego or wherever.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, and you have to like buy some sort of event package or something there,
oh, I see.
And then you get one of these.
But what is it? Why does it look like that?
That's the art of it, I guess.
But it's not dark like that, is it?
I don't know if it's like a special dark foiling process or if they were just trying to make it look more comic booky for the Comic-Con, you know?
That's really crazy.
But it might be that the green parts are the only parts that are like foiled or whatever, or colored. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's a cool card, though.
Yeah.
6 mana, 4 loyalty, Planeswalker. +1, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Then he's got -3. You may put a green creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. -7. You get an emblem with, whenever you cast a creature spell, you may search your library for a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Cool abilities here. It's definitely green. The first one that we've seen on like Gift of the Gargantuan and what are some other cards similar?
It's very much Lead the Stampede, I think.
Yeah, Lead the Stampede.
Yeah.
Is Gift like sort of like that too?
It's a land and a creature.
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, we've seen this in green before.
Green.
Yep. -3, you may put a green creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Definitely seen that in green on cards like Elvish Piper and what's the
Dramatic Entrance.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that one, but that one's a good one. There's quite a few actually that do it. There's also artifacts historically, but they don't do green. They do any creature like the amulet, Quicksilver amulet. Yeah. But I mean that's definitely a green ability. It's cool. And then -7, whenever you cast a creature spell, search your library for a creature card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. We've seen stuff similar to that with like Wild Pair and stuff. So
even Tooth and Nail to an extent.
All abilities are green. What do we think about it? I'll tell you what I think about it. I don't think it's that great for constructed. I think this is once again a really cool commander card. You're gonna be able to bust some like 11 to 15 mana cost dudes maybe. So I think he's really cool for that. I think in terms of comparing him to historic Garruks, he doesn't quite do it. I know Jake's gonna talk about the fact that he doesn't have beasts. That's disappointing him. And that is a good I mean he's even like with beast beast.
There's a beast in his art, and yet you don't get that beast at all.
But what is your opinion of him?
I like the card as far as its design goes. I think that it's cool.
I gotta get some water. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
I think the this Garruk could have been a completely new Planeswalker, because its abilities they're things that Garruk could do, but because none of them are put a token out, it doesn't seem like, so he's only helping you to summon your creatures, you know? And traditionally, Garruk has been able to summon his own creatures.
Yeah.
In every form. So it's just strange to me that you have to commit more with this Garruk than with any previous Garruk.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to get him out, you have to get to 6 mana, and then you also still have to have a creature in your hand to drop with him. So
he requires quite a bit.
Yeah.
He does find you creatures.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
But that means that you don't protect him the first turn. And when you do protect him the first turn, he goes down to 1. And he's a 6-drop.
He's disappointing. He's expensive. But remember, we have to constantly remind ourselves, I think they're moving towards a new generation of Planeswalkers. They're trying to put them in check. They realize that historic ones have been either broken in terms of Jace or just really, really good and annoying, like a Johnny Vengeant.
Well, and every Planeswalker that's produced tokens has been super obnoxious, too. I mean,
Except Wild Speaker. Wild Speaker was never obnoxious.
No, because it went down to produce tokens, and then they were like, let's go up instead. And then Soren,
Elspeth was obnoxious.
yeah. And even the other Elspeth that was -2 get 3 guys, and Garrick for 0 put a wolf out, or Garrick Primal Speaker or Primal
Hunter or
Primal Hunter.
Yeah, get bigger.
Get
put the
bigger
3/3.
and get a 3/3.
Oh, my
like
ultimate's just a million.
Yeah.
I love Primal. He's so brutal.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Like, and then this guy comes out, and that's why it's just like, ew.
But they're weakening them, and I'm okay with that. So flavorfully, I think this card is perfectly legit. I mean, you're saying he should be pumping out creatures.
There should be some way that he gets his own creature, because he is the like ultimate summoner. He's supposed to be able to come and bring guys with him, you know. So it is just funny that he requires you to have guys, and then he'll help you play them.
Yeah, I guess it would be cool if it was like, reveal your hand. If there are no green creatures, then you can put a beast out. Otherwise, you can put a green creature down or something
Like
like
a
that.
0 ability instead. Oh, and still -3.
Yeah, maybe. So it was like, you may put a green creature card from your hand onto the battlefield.
If you don't put a 3/3 green beast creature out, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool, actually.
Because then it's like, yeah, you have to pay a lot to get the beast, but at least he comes out and can protect himself.
And at 6 mana, that would have been fair,
They
too.
could have actually made him 5 then, and maybe upped his emblem costs to 8, and then also, like, left everything else the same, so that you had to go down to 2 and still couldn't double it up, you know? They could have made it a little better.
So we just figured it out.
Yeah.
We made it better.
Sorry, Wizards, your -3 ability, not that impressive.
We just made it better.
Yeah.
2 seconds. Where's
your development team on that one?
No, they tried. And it would have made it a better Planeswalker, too. Straight up,
Yeah.
it would have made it stronger.
But
I just feel like this,
not overpowered.
for the ability set that they did, they could have made it 5 mana. I don't think this
Yeah.
would have been overpowered at 5 mana. It would have been a lot better, too. It would have felt better, felt
I could
stronger.
see that if they wanted to do it at 5, I could see them reducing it to 3.
But then
Loyalty.
but it would be, yeah, because then it's dramatic entrance.
Dramatic entrance that turn, yeah.
Okay. I'd probably be okay with that. But it's a sorcery speed. Dramatic entrance.
Yeah, but Natural Order required you to sacrifice a creature, and you got to go shuffle and find one. Lure of Prey required your opponent to have played a creature this turn.
Okay.
So
that's in 14 as far as we know it now. Well, how much are they up to? We didn't even say. So currently, today is, I don't even know what day it is. It's the 7th. July 7th, and we've got 201 out of 249 spoilers. So we're getting there. Sight and Blood's coming back. Blade Cover Scout.
Voracious Worm?
Voracious Worm is a 2-mana, 2/2, enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn.
Crazy.
You're right, we didn't talk about that one. Kind of a cool picture. It's like it's a crazy looking worm.
Yeah. It's funny that they keep referencing Zendikar like nothing's going on.
Where's that?
Oh, wait. Colonia is not.
Where is Colonia, though? We've heard that before.
Yeah, I think it's actually, that's on Chandalar.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. But they do have, like, one of the Hydras is, like, Vastwood Hydra.
They've had a couple references to it before.
Yeah.
Which one?
Vastwood Hydra from this set, too. No, it's
from this?
14, yeah.
Vastwood Hydra is 2 green X, 0/0. It enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. When it dies, you may distribute a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on Vastwood Hydra among any number of creatures you control. So part of a sort of Hydra tradition they've had in core sets for a while now.
They have another Hydra in this set, too. And I
But,
think that one's from Zendikar, too.
You were saying you were comparing this to the other card, or we just hadn't talked about this card yet?
Oh, no, this is a Zendikar card.
Oh, I see, okay.
That's all I was saying.
How is it a Zendikar card?
Vastwood.
Oh, because of the Vastwood title, that's right. Let's see all the... There's Horon, Reef the Vastwood, Vastwood Animist. Wow,
Jeez.
I had no idea Animist had that much ruling changes. Vastwood Gorger, Vastwood Zendikon, Vines of Vastwood. Yeah. Interesting. So does that surprise you that they do callbacks like that, or have
No,
they
it's funny that they do, and then nothing's happening on Zendikar. It looks fine, and it's supposed to be being
taken out by
obliterated by
the Eldrazi? They
Eldrazi.
never finished that story, or what?
They haven't, but you assume that as time is passing and people like Jace and Gideon are going to find help for that plane,
They'll figure it
that
out. It'll be interesting. Anxious to see
yeah, I can't wait to
the
go back
return to
there. Yeah,
Zendikar, because they'll do it. It's been a couple of years now since we've been to
they'll
Zendikar.
have to wait a little longer.
Yeah, we got to get through the Grecian style cards
Yeah,
first.
and then they'll probably, if they're going to visit another plane, they'll probably visit Kamigawa first.
Are you ready to talk about our set a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, so Jake's going to run down the Kingdoms of Corithan set that we worked on together. Jake did a lot more of these card creation than I did, but I was there to help him sort of fine tune him, and I created a few. So, Jake, why don't you talk about sort of the idea of it, the lore that we're creating for it? This is a special Seems Good Magic set. If no one knew, it's going to be a full block that we'll eventually work on and complete. But we want it to be an actual like playable set. You know, we want it to be fair and balanced.
Yeah.
We don't want it to bring. There's actually a lot of things you need to keep in mind when you're creating a set. You don't want to have too much power in your set too. You don't want to have too little power, but you want it to be able to fit into the current Magic foundation that's already been laid out. So you don't want it to be unbalanced with stuff. And we have had to make some changes
Yeah,
because
definitely.
stuff was unbalanced in the grand scheme of Magic, even though it wasn't necessarily broken
In this set in
Yeah.
particular, yeah. So like after much development, design and development, we've come to pretty much our final form. There've just been a few small tweaks that I've made to this file before I got the new one to Alex. So
we're going to be going
everything is
through
pretty
yeah.
much the same.
There's a few different there's a few upgrades that need to be happening on this version that I have, but these are pretty close to what we're doing. So why don't you just talk about what the Kingdoms of Corithan are and what maybe the flavor, the theme of the set is going to be?
So it is well, on Corithan, that's the name of the plane, there are 5 major kingdoms, and each one is aligned with a wedge. So they have white, for example, is aligned with black and red. And then everyone else would be aligned with their traditional enemy color pairs. But on Corithan, that's just been the way it is with mana alignment. And so it's just developed naturally that way. So white is against blue and green and with black and red. So it changed kind of the way that white dealt with things. It made it more battle-based, a lot more aggressive feeling, I guess. There might be a few cards that don't feel very aggressive, but we've got a lot of block to keep going with, and so it's important that you don't just like blow your wad on the whole first thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, white is also in a couple of the other wedges, so there are some cards that align with them as well, but its main focus is kind of that black and red color pairing. So it's going to be similar to Shards of Alara, but not as much gold. Very little gold, in fact. There's only an uncommon cycle, a rare cycle, and a mythic cycle for each wedge pairing, or enemy color pairing for rare and uncommon, and then wedge pairing for the mythic cycle. Anyway, so just to show like a few examples of like what the white kingdom is, it's Midora. If you want to show Midoran Lancer. So like I said, it's white aligned, so its enemies are blue and green, and its allies are black and red. Their mechanic is detonate, and yeah, that's probably the best one. So detonate works whenever your opponent plays something, or whenever something enters the battlefield under your opponent's control that meets the detonate requirements. You can choose to sacrifice the creature, and if you do, you destroy that permanent that just came into play. We haven't play tested these yet, So we still need to see how powerful they are, but they're all pretty restrictive this first round until they get into the higher rarities, and there's only 2 rare cards, and even one of those is pretty restrictive as far as what it can detonate. But you'll see them typically with a pretty slim window of what they can detonate. This one is an uncommon that detonates creatures with power 4 or greater. There's like a couple that destroy enchantments or an enchantment destroyer, and then also a equipment enchantment destroyer. And then detonate is also in red and black, so you'll see some detonate cards for each of those colors, but in a much smaller amount than what white has. If you want to show Valkyrie, this is another card from Medora.
So Valkyrie of Medora is a 5-mana 4/4 flying vigilance angel, and it has lifelink as long as you control a black creature, and it has first strike as long as you control a red creature. So obviously it's aligned with the enemy colors. Like we said, it's got a lot of potential abilities if you meet the criteria for it. A thing to note is there's quite a few cards in this set that have that sort of has ability. If you control a creature of this color, has ability. You have a few cards with this, and that's a little more difficult than you'd think to get online, because we don't have a ton of multicolor creatures for those. It's more like the mono color is aligned with those other 2 colors, but there's not a lot of like mixing.
Yeah, so actually what you're going to be choosing to do in the limited is probably going 2 color, possibly 3 color with a splash, like on one of those colors. But generally you'll want to do 3 or 2 color, and it'll be some enemy pair.
Yeah.
And so this card probably will not always be turned on with both abilities, but you know, there's a chance that we break into more space in the like later sets. We could add hybrid of the traditional allied colors cards so that these are getting triggered later. You know, there's a lot of room to still grow this effect, but yeah, we're keeping it pretty tame in the first set.
And this is like version, this is still version 1.0. Jake just worked really hard on like copies of like the proxies of these cards so we can like play test and sort of see their power level. So we still have a little bit of that to tinker around with. But as of now, I mean, we have how many cards total already designed? 229
well, we've got
249
total. Well, 229 because the basic lands design themselves.
Yep.
So yeah, we've designed we've done a few reprints, so we've really designed maybe 245 or
225 or something like that.
Yeah. Maybe even 220 to 225, somewhere in there.
Yeah. But that's still, I mean, that's a lot. We'll show you some of the other detonate creatures. Detonate is the main mechanic of white. So we'll say a few of them. Wordbreaker is a 2-mana 2/2 detonate an enchantment, and when you sacrifice Wordbreaker, you gain 4 life. So this is actually quite a few abilities wrapped into a common, and it'll be interesting to see how this works. I mean, it's kind of a narrow band of what it hits, and it's not when it dies. It's only when you sacrifice it.
Yeah.
And I really did like the inclusion of that because it rewards you for detonating it, and it still operates as a bear otherwise. So it's a good card. So it's going to be a lot of abilities tied into a common. I'm interested to see how it plays. Another common one that we have, Relic Breaker, 1-mana 1/1, detonate an aura or an equipment, and when you sacrifice it, you gain 4 life. So it's sort of a little mini theme in white with the sacrificing it.
I did notice that I didn't put that ability on the white of Cineas, but
his ability is quite good already, and he has the first strike.
So this is like
the white is a 2-white 2/2 first strike, and it has a detonate a creature with power 4 or greater. I really like detonate because the way that we decided to make it is that it really is specific in what it affects, but there's a lot of implications for that. There's a lot of different applications of it too, so it can go over, you know, and affect many different cards. They'd make good sideboard cards, I bet. So they're kind of interesting. And there was some concern early that it might be too powerful, but my argument is that because it has to be on the board before it can start affecting the narrow band of what it affects, it's not too powerful. If they've already played the spell, then detonate could be worthless. They've already resolved the spell they needed to resolve, And detonate doesn't work as a good top deck answer
Yeah.
to a threat. It just is a good preemptive measure.
Yeah. And it is a good effect, and I'm less scared of it than I was the one that was pretty hesitant about it. Alex came up with this ability initially, and then we just worked on it until we came up with a kind of a way that we liked it best.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm not as worried about it anymore. We've talked about it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and the fact that you can't affect anything that's already out, the best way to play against it, in my opinion, is just to keep playing the stuff that they have to choose to detonate or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you have two options in your hand, if they have something like White of Cineas that could detonate the card in your hand, if you played either of your power 4 creatures, he's probably going to detonate it because either 4 creature has a good chance that it'll beat White in combat. So you just can choose the lesser powerful 4 power guy for White to detonate.
And so it gives you some control, but your opponent still kind of has like the ultimate control if they can force you to use it. So,
well, I mean, let's talk about the other. I mean, we talk about Wordbreaker. There's a multicolored one we could look at too, or some of them in black and.
Why don't we look at like both the black ones? Because there's only 2 in black and 2 in red.
Okay, so Blight Mine is sort of.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
Sort of a reference to like Seal of Doom. It's similar. Seal of Doom let you affect at any time. Blight Mine, like we said, they have to play the creature after you have it on board. But Blight Mine is a 1 and a black enchantment, and it has detonate a non-black creature. So whenever a non-black creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you can sack this permanent, and if you do, destroy it permanent. So it's kind of like it's not as good as Doomblade because they see it coming. They get to sort of bait it out with their hand, and you only get one chance to use it when they play the creature. So it is sort of narrow, but I still like it. Let me look at the other detonate card here. What's the other detonate in black? It's the Winnower of Levain, yeah. So it's 1 and a black, 2/1, detonate a creature with power 1 or less.
I know it looks like really lame.
It looks a little underwhelming, but it's still like it's cool what it can do. It can destroy walls. It can destroy creatures with high toughness.
There's like some good rare creatures with 1 power.
And this is the first set we've done with detonate, so we want to see how it plays first. If it's underwhelming, we can make it better in the later set.
I wanted there to be some cards that look like they could just be complete duds too with detonate because it needs to be so narrow that you can expand on it. You have to like get some room to grow it.
Yeah,
you know?
Find where it's best. Find where it's not good at all.
Well, and we already have like 3 creatures with detonate a creature in the set, and then 1 permanent or 1 that can just detonate a permanent.
Actually, let's talk about that one because that one's in the main color. So Archon's Mount is the rare one. There's 2 rare cards with detonate. This is 1 and 3 white for a 3/4 flyer, detonate a permanent. So it's straight up like a Vindicate. And when you sack it, you gain 4 life. So it's very efficiently costed. It is at rare. I mean, it's
triple white.
Triple white makes it much more narrow where you would play it. I feel like it would be very good in a control deck, though. That would give them a lot of room. So this would definitely be a control playable card.
For sure.
Just like a straight up blue-white control would love this card. So it's very strong. And this one is sort of pushing, probably going to be a decider on how powerful Detonate truly is. When we see it on 3/4 body with flying.
It is pretty funny that Blight Mine takes it out, though. So, and you get many turns beforehand to get your Blight Mine online.
And they don't get to gain the 4 life because they're not sacking it.
So it's like, I know that you are afraid of this card because it has so many abilities, and I actually think this card is fine because detonate a permanent at 4 mana means that the first permanent you're going to get to blow up is either their 5-drop or their 5th land.
And they're not gonna want to detonate unless it's something that's stronger than Archon's Mount, which there's not unless they really need that 4 life really bad.
Right.
So I mean, the fact that they can take out lands is really cool. We'll get to the red ones now, actually. Warren Scouts is 2 in a red, 2/2 haste, so it's a Goblin Chariot, and it also has detonate a non-basic land. And I'm really proud of the flavor text that this was with. Jake did a good job on it. This cave won't work. Let's blast it. Gimlick Warren Scout. Last words. It's cool because the
Or
pictures of them just wandering around in little caves. But they're non-basic land destruction. I like Worm Scouts a lot. I feel like this is a really cool card, and it's very similar to previous red cards printed, like Goblin Ruin Blaster.
hmm
And
And the other thing about Detonate is it's pretty easy to play around. You know, in this instance, in limited, this card's probably not going to be a house. You know, but
not at all. I
in
mean,
constructed, it could warp the format to make you play a lot more basics.
Detonate also gives your opponent the chance to be like, oh, so I have to just remove this creature,
hmm
or I have to remove this permanent before I can play my spell.
hmm
So
Yep.
it even gives them sort of room in that way too.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing about Detonate is that there is a control aspect to it. You're making your opponent second guess every play that they make that hits one of your Detonate requirements, you know? So, and it could be a confusing thing to have many different Detonate permanents out because they don't all do the same thing. So that might be something we have to look at too. But at the same time, you know, I'm willing to see what we can do with it.
I feel like it's specific enough where it should work, but we'll see. What was the other red one?
New Mech Blaster.
Okay, this one's cool too. I liked how this one ended up. This is the downgraded iteration of it, but I like this version of it the best, I think. It's 1 in a red, 2/1, detonate an artifact. Obviously, artifact destruction has been around a long time in red, so it only felt right to give it a detonate one. And then when you sacrifice New Mech Blaster, it deals 2 damage to target player. So it's kind of cool. If you manage to destroy the artifact, it's like a little mini smash to smithereens. Otherwise, it's a Goblin Piker. I like that detonate sort of gives you that flexibility of having both a creature or a sweet like deal with something effect.
Yeah, I also put Fury Channeler in red just to note this card because it actually works well with Detonate.
I like that a lot too, and it's similar picture to the New Mech Blaster.
Yeah.
It's like the same race or what?
Yeah, it's the same race.
Okay.
New Mech, Fury Channeler.
So Fury Channeler is a 1-mana 1/1, and when you sack Fury Channeler or another creature you control, you may have Fury Channeler deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So this is really cool. Like Jake said, it works very well with Detonate.
But it's not dies, so it's not Blood Artists or anything like that. You know, you have to actually sacrifice the creature.
It's not OP at all, and it feels like it'll play well with Detonate, so that's kind of cool. We'll talk about the multicolor one, which is Voice of Levain. 1 red, 2 white, 3/3 flying lifelink angel, and it has Detonate a Planeswalker. So this is definitely one of the more powerful ones, but this is the other rare one. So I like the way this ended up.
It's
what it
extremely
does.
restrictive cost too. You have to. It's all colored mana, so there's like, it's not easy to cast.
Not at
You
all.
have to have the right thing at the right time.
And Detonate a Planeswalker.
I feel like it's like a super limited ability, so it's really the 3/3 flying lifelink you're getting out of this guy.
Yeah, I like that it sort of is like a preventative measure against Planeswalkers that could deal with it, though. So it's kind of cool in that respect.
Yeah, and you actually kill the Planeswalker before they even get the ability off of it, because it triggers as soon as the Planeswalker hits. So this ability has to resolve before they can activate their Planeswalker ability.
It's true, that's a good point. So that's sort of the white plant, the Madoran Levain plant. Do you want to talk about the Levain Court?
Yeah,
the Court Mage cycle.
I wanted to bring this up. There's some creature type like switches. So white now has access to zombies, goblins, vampires, any red or black race that's been traditionally in only those colors, because the alliance are like the allied colors are completely different on this plane. So there is a mono white vampire here. And Levain is the largest city, or like the central hub of Medora, and each one of the like hub cities for each color combination or wedge is called out by the court mage, and then like a lot of the other names are for specifically just the kingdom itself. So that's why a lot of the other ones are Medora, but this one is Levain and the voices of Levain.
Let's talk about all the Court Mages. So read this one. This one's a really good one too.
Yeah, this one's gone through a couple different iterations, and actually all the Court Mages were originally 3 mana with 2 mana cost activations, but none of them felt like they needed to be 2 mana, and so we just reduced them all to 1. Levain Court Mage is a 2 colorless, 1 white 2/2 vampire wizard with black and tap, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, or red and tap, Levain Court Mage deals 1 damage to another target creature and you gain 1 life. So I didn't want the red ability to just be able to just gain you life by pinging herself and gaining you a life every turn. And so like if your opponent had hexproof for some reason, I didn't want you to have a red life gain. So that's why I made it another target creature. But the life gain is because she's white and a vampire.
And it's a really relevant ability. It's very strong. So it even works as a little pinger effect in white, which is pretty unique. White actually has had
pingers before. It gets attacking and blocking.
Yeah. So it's not completely out of the realm of white, and paying the red for it really makes it all make sense. So that is kind of cool. So that's the white Guild Mage, and it's a vampire wizard. So like Jake said, you're going to see white vampires, which is totally out of color palette for the other
white
we've
of
seen.
Sinius is a zombie, you know.
So the white of Sinius, that detonator we talked about earlier, yeah, he's a white zombie. Even you have the white cards that produce.
Oh yeah.
Tokens.
Advance the army puts 2 goblins out, and
they're red creatures. Straight up.
This is just like a reprint of Raise the Alarm, except you're getting red goblins instead of white soldiers.
And what's the other one? The one
Raise the Army.
Raise the Army is 5 mana sorcery. Put 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. So this is pretty similar to Knight's
Night Watch.
Night Watch. Yep. So you can see the sort of odd color crossovers from historic Magic, where we're sort of it's almost like planar chaos, where you're seeing stuff out of color palette, but there is an explanation for it in this plane. So let's talk about the blue. Let's just go through all the court mages real quick.
Okay. Well, this one's Mozani or Mozan.
Okay. So this is 2 and a blue, 2/2, and it has red and tap. Target creature becomes a 3/1 until end of turn. That creature can't block this turn. Green and tap. Target creature becomes 1/3 and gains defender until end of turn. So do you want to explain how this one's working?
Yeah. So, sorry. Okay. So the whole idea of the red, green, and blue kingdom is that it's kind of like a wide open, vast kind of expanse. Everybody there is in tune with like nature, and everyone is wise and all that stuff, I guess. Just to give you some background on what is going on here. Anyway, most of the cities and stuff are located on the coast, and everything on the interior of this kingdom is kind of unexplored, or, you know, people don't really have a good idea of what's there. So exploration is a big thing with this, with the Kitteret and Mozan people. Anyway, so I'm just trying to find the place where all of these colors merge, and I thought that the shape-shifting aspect was probably the best one for blue, red, and green, as far as their court mage was concerned. So that's why this one has the double shape-shift ability on it. It's not like a common ability in this color combination, but other than drawing cards, it was probably the best overlap that they all had. Instead of just changing power toughness, I gave an additional effect to each of them to make them a little more effective against people. So this one's kind of like a blue tapper in that you can make a creature not be able to attack you with the green ability, or you can make a creature not be able to block for a turn with
both
the red
of which
ability.
feel green and red. That's true. I like that. That's cool. All right, so the black guild mage is Temden Court Mage. This is 2 and a black, 2/2, green and tap. Target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn, and then white and tap. Target creature gains Lifelink until end of turn. So this has access to both Death Touch and Lifelink, both very good. This one's very cool because it can actually block itself and then give Death Touch, so it's good defensively, or Lifelink for that matter.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the Temden Court Mage and what the Black Kingdom represents?
So black is aligned with green and white on Corithan, and the black area then Nabir has a lot of like dangerous stuff to it. There's death is like a part of life in Nibiru. It happens just so often that the people who live there are prepared enough for it where they've found a way to call people back from the dead in spirit form. And so we put materialize in as this mechanic.
And maybe let's talk about materialize. I guess we will have to come back to it if we want to get through other court mages.
Yeah.
But we can briefly
But like,
mention
yeah,
what
I just want
materialize
to
is.
like talk about the flavor. And materialize is essentially unearth, except that you're exiling the creature from your graveyard as you pay the cost, and you're getting a token copy of it that stays on the battlefield for as long as it stays on the battlefield.
So you're getting a token copy of a creature in your graveyard.
Yeah. It costs much more than unearth did. Traditionally, unearth was like less than or the same cost of the card.
Mm-hmm.
This one, all the commons cost like at least 2 more usually.
It's almost like flashback for creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is almost. Actually, it pretty much is.
It's flashback. It's like a flavorful way to do flashback for creatures.
Yeah.
It's producing tokens, so it's slightly different than flashback. That was just copying or recasting the spell from your graveyard, essentially. Mm-hmm. But so that's sort of what the black ability is, or the Black Kingdom sort of represents.
And so what I was getting at, they're exposed to death so much that they are kind of in control of it almost, but not like that they're immune to it. I don't want you to think that. You know, they're just really prepared for it, and they've been exposed to it so much that they know many ways to deal death too. So they have like, you know, a lot more underhanded people in their kingdom than in some of the other kingdoms, you know. The villages and cities are pretty small. Temden is the largest one. But it's still not larger than, you know, any of the main cities of Medora or probably also Rark too.
So smaller kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's talk about the red one.
And that's Vomat, is the court mage. So the Rark are white, blue, and red, and I kind of designed them as valuing freedom to explore magic. So their ability is called Inspire, and whenever you cast an instant or a sorcery, the permanent with Inspire untaps.
I like the goblin that we did with it really early on, the Market Huckster.
Oh yeah.
So he's an example of a cool kind of Inspire card that's similar to the goblin from Corset.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I think of his name right now? The guy who discards and draws.
Yeah, what is his name?
Scavenging Goblin, I believe. Rummaging Goblin.
Yeah.
So 3 mana 1/1 with Inspire, which is, as Jake said, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, untap this creature. And then he has the red version of the Merfolk Leader effect, which is tap, discard a card, draw a card. So there's that. I mean, there's plenty of other ones in there too.
He's like probably the best example of what Inspire is, you know, because all of the creatures with Inspire, well, most of the creatures with Inspire have a tap ability that you can utilize multiple times off of your spells if you chain the Inspire correctly, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this one,
Goblin
many of them have
brigands,
like mana costs associated with them because I didn't want it to get out of control. But Huckster is probably like one of the cooler ones because he doesn't have mana cost, so all of your spells can allow you to just discard cards to draw a new one.
Mm-hmm.
But the Vomat Court Mage, then, I've always wanted to move tapping and untapping into red because I just think it works there. So this was kind of my way of doing that and still getting away with it with white and blue abilities. And the other card that breaks the color vibe by adding tap to red is Hint of Chaos.
Yep, and this is kind of a cool little card you came up with. It's 1 red sorcery, tap target artifact, creature, or land. So we actually have, I can't think of any other red card that's done this before, but it definitely doesn't feel out of the realm of reason.
And the other way I'm justifying it here is because red is allied with blue and white. It should have access to this effect a little more, you know.
And this only slightly, it's such a slight dip out of what they've done. that it really doesn't feel like it's that big of an
Red
effect.
can make creatures enter the battlefield tapped. Red has been able to untap creatures and gain control of them until end of turn. It's part of the effect, but it still untaps the creature. You know, so I'm not, in my opinion, it's not too out of the realm of possible to give red tap and untap, but definitely, probably. I think it's better to give it at sorcery speed. But
So,
anyway.
Yeah. So the Vomac Court Mage taps permanents, untaps permanents.
She's probably the most basic of all of the court mages. Just really simple pair of abilities.
Definitely going to be very good in limited.
Either one of those are fine color pairs to go with. But
okay, so we've got
just I think it's Tenerian or Gurkata.
Got
must be Tenerian court mage.
All right, the green one. This one's probably one of the most interesting ones since it very much works alongside its guild's, its kingdom's mechanic. So the Tenerian Court Mage is a 3 mana, 2 and a green, 2/2 human wizard, blue and tap, choose a counter on target permanent, put another one of those counters on that permanent, and then black tap, choose a counter on target permanent, remove that counter from that permanent. So kind of cool that it affects any historic counter in the game, but sort of explain how it's going to work with its guild mechanic maybe, or its kingdom.
It's actually cool because it's both like works in conjunction with it if you decide to play it, or it works against it if you're in one of the other kingdoms that can access the black. So Nibiru could use this against the Gurkata or Teneria. Anyway, the ability is called Binding here. I've decided that Energize is probably a better way to word this ability. So in future iterations, it'll probably be called Energize, unless you are objecting to it.
No, that's okay.
And then some of the other effects on these cards say if there's a binding counter on it. Instead, they'll say if it's energized.
Okay.
So this will stay the same essentially. It'll be binding, tap, add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool, where X is the number of binding counters on Gurkata. Binding is if a land would enter the battlefield untapped and under your control, you may have it enter the battlefield tapped instead. If you do, put a binding counter on this creature. So it's similar to Landfall, except that all of your binding creatures will not get the effect. You can choose to replace one binding effect for each land as it enters the battlefield untapped. So I wanted to boost like the effectiveness of the abilities on binding because of that. So some of the creatures with binding may seem a little strong, but it's because that ability is actually kind of lackluster if the payoff isn't pretty big.
Here's a rare one that's pretty powerful. 1 and 2 green, 3/2, and it has binding, and you're putting binding counters on it. So those binding counters, the creatures have an ability alongside that those binding counters. So this one is remove 2 binding counters from Master of the Pack, and you put 3 2/2 green wolf creature tokens on the battlefield. So he makes an army, but it's at the cost of your next two, your next two lands.
Untapped lands.
That
So
you can choose not to do the binding counter if you need the land, but it's definitely it's cool. It builds towards something.
Yeah.
A couple of these mechanics are similar to older mechanics, but they're sort of like a different spin on it that I don't mind so much. I think that they're still going to be.
I do think they'll play differently enough too.
A cool application of it that we haven't seen before. Traditionally, Landfall was make the creature stronger. There were the quest cards that were like you remove counters from them and you get different abilities too. So there's and that was in the same block as the Landfall.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and I know I want to like just clarify, people who might be saying your ability is too similar to Landfall, like keep in mind that every ability then is correspondent to those counters too. So it's not like we're differentiating it as far as when a land enters, you may have it enter tapped instead if you do this. You know.
Yeah.
They always get the binding counter. They always have an ability that's like associated with the fact that they have binding counters. So, keep that in mind when you're comparing it to landfall too.
You're keeping it as like storage too.
Yeah.
It's like future storage of taking the energy from that land and putting it on the creature.
What it is your creature is drawing the mana out of it before you get the chance to, is what the theme was. And then they're using it for their own spell or whatever they're going to do with it. The court mage we already talked about, I guess. So yeah.
That's why he works with the binding. He's putting more counters on.
Yep.
But even in like old Magic, he'd be cool with some cards since he affects all different types of counters. So
and
interesting court mage.
Planeswalkers, always like
he definitely feels
control Planeswalkers.
I can see him being a little bit underwhelming in limited. He's still definitely playable, but I like his abilities enough. He's different application.
Yeah. Well, the blue common with binding, or I'm trying to think, does blue have the uncommon too? Whatever. One of the blue commons is a looter, where you remove a counter to loot. So
do you remember the name of it?
Yeah, it's what is it? It's either Gurkhata or Mage of something. Mage of Teneria. There it is.
So it's basically a Merfolk looter, but you have to do binding to get it. But it's also a 1/3, so it has 2 more toughness. So it's actually a good blocker too.
Yeah.
And you can store the binding counters and use them, and you don't have to tap them. So there are some differences between him and Merfolk looter. But this is a good idea for. It shows you a little bleed over of the enemy color.
Yeah. And keep in mind
alliance.
that the reason this guy is a 1/3 for 2 is because
there's been Maritime Guard and stuff like that.
And, well, because binding is kind of, I don't want to say it's a turd ability. It's just denying yourself resources for not enough payoff is really not fun.
We wanted to make good applications of what how much you're going to get rewarded from doing it.
These creatures had to be juiced a little bit to make them justified for what you're paying. Because in the early stages of the game, if you're missing your land drop, or not missing it, but missing that opportunity to play off it, you want to get some benefit for doing that. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the binding cards or whatever.
Okay, so do you want to? We went through all the court mages now. Do you want to talk about quickly each color kingdom now? You talked about the sort of the black, red, and green ones. We sort of skipped over the blue one. Let's talk about the blue.
Well, we kind of talked about it. It's like I said, there's a lot of like
the main ability is Majesty.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that, I guess. So Majesty is
the blue kingdom's ability.
It's similar to Threshold or Domain. You have Majesty when you control something with converted mana cost 6 or greater. So, for example, on Beaked Kima, as long as you control a permanent with converted mana cost 6 or greater, Beaked Kima gets +2/+2. Now, this is just like a really basic application of Majesty. I just wanted to add like a really basic Majesty card to the set.
Here's a card that doesn't have Majesty, but it still fits in with its kingdom's theme of rewarding you for converted mana cost 6 or greater spells and permanents. So Clutch Guardian's a 4 mana 4/3. It can't attack unless defending player controls a tapped land, and that's kind of cool because it works alongside the binding idea. As well as they just have to tap lands in general, but it's still restrictive in how it can attack. Which
what I like about Clutch Guardian is it's particularly effective against the binding one, but not as good against like the red Rark, because Rark is typically going to have access to a lot of instants and stuff, so they're not necessarily going to have to post-combat cast anything on their turn. So it's kind of it's actually a little more effective than you think, and the fact that your opponent can just not allow you to attack by not tapping is
cool. It turns it off a little bit. I like it. So that's a card that doesn't have Majesty, but it works alongside its kingdom's mechanic. Let's see.
We should talk about the color hose cards too, like Counterblast. So there's a cycle of what are traditionally allied colors, but in this set they're enemy color hosers. At uncommon, this is the blue one. And it's just a dismiss if you counter a white or black spell, but you can always use it to counter a spell. All of these are supposed to be a regular common and just boosted with this color hose.
So it's 2 blue and a colorless instant counter target spell. If a white or black spell is countered this way, draw a card. So it can't, like you said, it can be dismissed, but it's a mana cheaper, but it's restrictive in what it targets.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a cool card. Let's go through the other ones. What's the one in white?
Right. What is the white one? I changed the name recently. Descent's Reward.
Okay, so this is 1 and a white. Instant, target opponent sacrifices an attacking creature. If a green or blue creature is sacrificed this way, put 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. So
I wanted to add more sacrifice to the set, so I made this card sacrifice instead of destroy because I want your opponent, if they're playing detonate cards with those sacrifice triggers, to potentially screw you over in, like, certain instances or
and this is
whatever.
pretty narrow. Like you might be trying to compare it to Rebuke, which was 3 mana, but this actually gives them the control over what they're sacking. So it just sort of punishes them for attacking with one creature, but if they attack with multiples, they'll just be getting rid of the worst creature. Technically, I guess since you can get bonuses from the green or blue creature, you could get hooked up. So it's kind of a deep card in that respect. They have to make some decisions.
I know it's a little lackluster, but
I think it's actually pretty good.
yeah, it's still okay.
Okay, the black one is called
Devouring Darkness.
Devouring Darkness is 2 black and a colorless, destroy target creature, instant. If a blue or red creature is destroyed this way, gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So it's a murder with additional abilities, but it's also at uncommon, and I think it's acceptable. And the reward that you get is just gaining life, so it's not too detrimental.
Yeah.
It's definitely a cool, I think, limited card, and it could have, if it was printed today, it could see some constructed sideboard play for a control list of some sort that really wants the life. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Let's talk about the red one, which is
Purging Flames.
Purging Flames. 1 and a red instant. It deals 3 damage to target creature. If that creature is black or green, it deals 3 damage to that creature's controller. So it's essentially Searing Blaze for black or green instead of using landfall. I like it. That's cool.
Yeah.
And the
this
green
one went through a couple iterations too before we landed on that one.
Yeah.
The green one is Unnatural Decay. This one also went through a couple changes before.
This is
here.
4 and a green, destroy target non-creature permanent. If a mountain, plains, red permanent, or white permanent is destroyed this way, you gain 6 life. So it still is part of the color host cycle. It's just it needed to be more specific because it was a non-creature permanent destruction spell. But I still like the way that it turned out. I think that's cool.
I think it's fine. I wish that 2 of them didn't have life gain as their added bonus, but at the same time, I think that it's fine. And this one just gives you a static life gain, whereas the black one is dependent on the toughness of the creature.
So I think that's a good intro to what the set is. Why don't we just briefly talk about the 2 planeswalkers? I really like the Zevis Ragecaller that you came up with. This is the probably the only multicolor card with the actual
ally, traditional ally. And I wanted a card like this in the set just to show that this guy's not from this plane at all, and that
he's interacting.
Yeah, he's here on this plane, but not from it. That's kind of what I was going for. But
so he's 2 colorless, a black and a red for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. He also has whenever damage is dealt to you by a source an opponent controls, you put that many loyalty counters on Zevis Ragecaller. He has +1 during target opponent's next turn. Creatures that player controls attack you if able, and then he has -20. Destroy all permanents you don't control. So that might seem like a really overpowered ability, but he's actually pretty hard to get online. You have to actually be dealt the damage, so you can't prevent it and get the loyalty counters. You actually have to be dealt 15 damage, 14 damage technically if you use its ability when it comes out, which you would. So 14 damage has to be dealt to you before you can even get the opportunity to use his ultimate. And it's not so easy to take 14 damage after your turn 4, after you've already played him. But that being said, I really like the way the card turned out. I think it's it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
It's a well-designed planeswalker. I could see something like it being made and played. And it's semi-unique in that it has sort of this clause on it that we haven't seen before on a planeswalker that's unrelated to loyalty counters. Or unrelated to an ability that an actual just
static ability that generates loyalty counters.
static ability on a Planeswalker. I don't think we've ever seen that before.
Well, Garrick Relentless had a static ability to flip.
It was just a static ability?
Yeah. Whenever his loyalty was 2 or less.
Oh, I see.
Flip
Okay.
him.
Well, I guess that's true. I just it's still pretty unique to Planeswalkers. Okay, so Menade of, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Or, okay. Menade of Kaldheim. Why don't you talk about this one? You sort of were the mastermind of this one.
Well, initially I think it was a little different, but maybe not. No, the emblem was different, but essentially she's very similar to the original iteration. Her +1, she has 2 pluses. Her first one puts a 0/2 cleric creature token onto the battlefield. Her second one makes a creature indestructible until your next turn. And her ultimate is -3. You get an emblem with, if a source would deal damage to a permanent you control, prevent 1 of that damage. And she's a 4-mana planeswalker, 2 colorless, 2 white, with 4 loyalty when she comes out. I guess in the beginning, I just wanted somebody that was like a support planeswalker, but her emblem initially was prevent 1 to you and to each permanent you control. And that just felt too good. You know, your opponent couldn't just bash through and hit you to kill you if you got enough of the emblems out. So after some reworking, and I think initially I started her at 2 mana and like 2 loyalty or 1 loyalty or something like that, and eventually we came to this. And I think I'm really satisfied with how this one is. And again, she's not from around here, so she is aligned with white and blue. Her planeswalker form is just white, but she is all support and safety for your team or your army. And that's kind of the theme. She's here as like a protector. Anyway, yeah, so that emblem, we just wanted an ultimate that you could crack on the first turn you played a planeswalker.
Which is fun. And we've seen the emblem crack on play before with Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. That's the only other time I can think of.
Yeah. And this one, you know, damage prevention is good. I wanted to make a like release valve in the set, so I printed a 1-drop 2/1 that damage can't be prevented. You know, just because I didn't want you to be like, oh, Menade's out, and then they crack the emblem, and then you can't kill Menade because she's preventing 1 damage to herself each time, or God forbid you kill the first one, and then they play a second one and get another emblem that you can't now kill their Menade at all. So I did want to put kind of a release valve in for that, but I don't think she's too strong.
I don't think she's too weak either.
Yeah, and I think
she's a decent fit. She also protects other planeswalkers, which is something I like about her a lot. So she plays really well with, you know, classic planeswalkers as protection for them, immediate protection for them.
She generates that cleric to help prevent too. What was I just gonna say? Oh, and we didn't want her to kill herself so that you couldn't chain her without getting some work. So your opponents actually have to go through and kill her. She doesn't have a second minus ability, so you're never gonna like drop her down unless you get her back up to 3 again.
They have to do work. They have to do work to take her out.
Yeah, and
her second ability is a little bit underwhelming, but it's still applicable to what she does, and I feel like there are times where it could be useful.
Yeah. In the end, I'm totally happy with how she turned out, and I think that she's not too strong, and she's complete support, so it's like you're only putting her in probably as a 2 or 1 of, because she's not going to kill your opponent.
Not on her own, no.
But we can look at Kiora too.
Okay, the final planeswalker.
Yeah, we did have 3. Those were the 2 completely new characters, and this is like the returning character. It's just she's never been printed in card form before, and you know, I'm sure they're going to print her in Theros or whatever, but I wanted
your take on her?
Yeah, I wanted to try and take a stab at her. So on the video game Duels of the Planeswalkers, she has a green and blue deck, so that's why I made her green and blue.
What's her? How do you pronounce her name?
Kiora Atua, I think.
Yep.
And it means something in another language, in a real language in the world, like hello or good tidings to you.
Okay.
So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know what language though. Anyway, she has 4 loyalty when she comes out, and she's a 6-drop, 3 colorless, a green, and 2 blue. +2, target player returns a creature he or she controls to its owner's hand. Thought it was too good as just strictly unsummon. So I wanted to make it similar to like a sacrifice, but in blue and green. So here it is, you know. And I didn't really like Peel from Reality on this card as an ability for pump. So, and initially I think I had her as everybody returns a creature, just everybody bounce a creature, but that also felt like, you know, you're not really protecting yourself. This felt like the safest way to protect herself.
Yet still not be too good.
Yeah, not be devastating. Your opponent just has to have like a cheap creature or no creatures, and it doesn't do anything. -3 to draw 3 cards. You know, I felt like that was just like a really simple thing to do on her. And I know it doesn't like push the envelope as far as abilities go, but it just made sense for blue and green. And at 6 to get 3 cards in your hand, whatever, you know, that's fine for those 2 colors. And then her -7 is search your library for up to 3 creature cards with different names and put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So this is the one that works probably best with what Kiora's character is supposed to be. She is like really into big creatures, I guess, is like her character. And she also has wild dreams. I think it describes her as having wild dreams. So that was kind of the -3 ability too. But anyway.
She feels right at 6 mana.
Yeah.
She's not easy to play. She's pretty color intensive. Her ability is good, but it's kind of specific. The draw 3 is good. Her ultimate is very strong, and she does survive it if you play the path that she plays. But I think at 6 mana she's probably fair. I think she's going to be reasonable.
She is like straight up Soren Markov ability cost. So +2, -3, and -7. And I'm happy with that. I actually really was going for that when I made her, because I think that that's such a
good
fair
baseline for a 6 mana planeswalker.
A fair way to do 6 drops, yeah. And he is way better as far as his +2, you know, to shock something and to gain 2 life. And you choose the target. I couldn't think of any way to make her ability that strong, but not too strong, because bouncing a creature is just so good.
Obnoxious, yeah. Mind Sculptor showed that.
Yeah,
so
and that was even a -1 ability.
Yeah.
So
this is +2, but they do get the choice, so it's not as devastating.
So overall, I'm happy with her. I don't think she's like overpowered at all, and I think she's really fair, actually. But those are the 3 planeswalkers we are doing in this first set.
All right, so that's like a good intro, I think, to what the set is. Jake and I are kind of excited because we're going to be playing it after this. But let us do a draft first. I think it's about that time. Always like to get a draft in for the podcast. And we'll see what we're going to bust here. While we're waiting, I mean, we can look at a couple more cards from it. I don't mind doing that. What are some other cool ones? We've got... well, let's look at a little more Majesty. Some of the other Majesty spells. Actually, let's talk about Vomit Channeling. This is kind of a unique card. So this is a 2 blue instant. Until end of turn, activated abilities of creatures you control cost tap to activate instead of the normal costs, and you get to untap all creatures you control. So it changes the nature of activated abilities, which is pretty unusual for a card, but I sort of had the idea in mind of working with Inspire in many ways, since it not only gets to activate or trigger their Inspire, but it also gives them a cheap interaction with their activated ability.
Yeah. And this card is actually its own Inspire chain just off itself, because you get to untap them. You get to trigger their untap off the Inspire and potentially use it again before this spell untaps them again for a second time. So it is like going to be probably really good in the Inspire strategy, but at uncommon it's going to be a little harder to see.
And it's narrow.
Yeah,
it's narrow,
it is very narrow. You do have to have creatures with activated abilities first and foremost. So That's a pretty narrow aspect of it.
Maybe we want to talk about one more card. Acquired Ally I kind of like because this is a small cycle that you have in the set too. This you may pay. This is a 6-mana enchantment. You may pay 1 in a blue rather than pay Acquired Ally's mana cost. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Then if its mana cost was paid, put an allegiance counter on target creature, and you gain control of that creature for as long as it has an allegiance counter on it. So the whole point of why you may pay 2 rather than pay its acquired than its mana cost is because it actually triggers or
Majesty.
Or yeah, it makes it so you can.
Yeah, you have Majesty as long as this card is out.
It looks like the draft started, but that's a small cycle we'll have to get to next time. All right, Sacred Foundry, Rurik Thar. What else have we got? I think it's probably just a Rurik Thar slam here.
Zertot Druid in this pack too, but I think Rurik Thar is very, very strong.
He's a strong dude. Good 6-drop, really solid. Crisis Incubation also good, a little too color intensive. Not that Rurik Thar is not color intensive. I think he's just a worthwhile first pick.
Splash at 6 though.
He's a really strong card. He's a must deal with, so pretty happily snatch him up. Second pick, we have Alive and Well, which is good for getting to the late game. It's just a card I've come to like quite a bit. It's also Selesnya Guildgate, but this does produce just a token, which I kind of like, and it's mono and green. Otherwise, it's like Smeltward Gatekeepers. Just tons of clue stones in this pack.
There are tons
so Alive and Well, I think we're just going to take that. Next pick, what looks like the Zertot Druid's probably the pick. There's also Crawl Warrior in here, which is good. Golgari Guildgate for early fixing. Another Beetleform Mage is kind of cool. We're just going to take the Druid because we've got the Rurik Thar already. Makes sense. Even ramp into the Alive is good. I like kind of playing the fatty ramp deck. Zertot Druid helps a lot with that.
That's way good with that, yeah.
Yeah, I really like Alive and Well a lot. I think it's a good card. Seen it played in multiples. Gets really out of control sometimes. Like that. I've played Rurik Thar a few times in Limited already. I'm usually pretty impressed with them. They usually punish themselves pretty hard, taking care of him. The problem with the Rurik Thar is you have to be mindful of how many non-creature spells you're playing, like Alive and Well, such, you know.
Yeah.
Skyplan Giant is a very good pick. It's also Weapon Surge in here, Simic Guildgate, Armored Wolf Rider. All of those are good. Skyplan's definitely the best one, since it maintains our core colors, cuts Gruul very well, and is a very strong card. Big fan of Skyplan. If you've watched my drafts before, you'd know that. Hopefully we can make Gruul work. Haven't played a Gruul deck in a while.
I hope we do too.
There's plenty of good ones. So it looks like people have talked about the strategy of playing to your Gatecrash pack. So we're kind of doing that plan now since we've picked just a bunch of really good Gruul cards. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that all the time.
Battering Crisis.
Battering Crisis is fine, not super amazing, but it's certainly a 3-drop creature we can play. Still fits in with what we're trying to do.
Cutting green helps.
Okay, there's Ceruli Gatekeeper, Armored Wolf Rider, a fairly late Fatal Fumes. Weapon Surge is very good, especially with the Trampler that gets bigger. Could see that being worth it. Armored Wolf Rider is a very good card if we wanted to go Naya. We're going to have to focus on some fixing. We probably are going to wheel a Weapon Surge. I'd like to get one, but
Gatekeepers is safer than Wolf Rider, I guess.
Wolf Rider is significantly better. Yeah. Gatekeeper is only going to be good if we get enough gates to even turn it on.
Let's do Wolf Rider.
Yeah, that's a late one anyway, so I'm cool with that. Maze Behemoth's good. There's also Profit Loss and Protect and Serve. Selesnya Clue Stone for fixing.
I guess Maze Behemoth is a 6-drop, but we do have many multicolored guys right now.
It's true.
And any of those having trample would be great. Excuse me.
I think we're not going to have a problem finding 6-drops. So I'm just going to take the Clue Stone and get a little fixing online. If we can't get gates, I'd at least like to get fixing. Well, I mean, Boros Massive that's a very late one. So that might mean I mean, we're really not passing much else besides hating something, and I don't feel like hating something right now.
Crawl Warrior.
Crawl Warrior is a very good 2-drop, so we'll take that. Maze Rusher is cool with the multicolored as well, but I like getting the 2-drops. That seems like a good plan. So far, a pretty good mix of cards.
Background Graces has cool art.
It's like a hammerhead shark, fish beast.
Fish Farm.
Steeple Rock's fine. It's a 5-drop, fits in the curve a little bit. So I've come to appreciate Steeple Rock a little more these days than I initially did. And Naya's a pretty good archetype, I've found. Pack 2 is a very important pack for it.
Yeah.
But you get both Boros and Gruul free reign. So I'd still like to stick to a mostly green-red one, but it is going to be decided by the next pack which direction we're going to be going more.
Skellington is best.
You can take Dirty, maybe. Probably not playing it, but take the Maze Rusher here. Alright. Not too shabby to start. Okay, this pack we've got Herbis Protector, which is a little deep white. I think we want the Pit Fight.
Yeah,
that seems like what our deck's going to be wanting to do, and Pit Fight is a very, very good removal spell. First time we've seen the instant speed fighting.
Cinder Elementals.
There's also Boros Gilgate. I think it's early enough. We want to get that fixing.
Okay.
We want to make sure we can splash for that white if we want to play the Armored Wolf Rider or just have free reign on it. Otherwise, we're taking Edict, which is very good. Legionnaire, which is also good. Cinder Elemental is good. I like the fixing. I've come to be picking fixing higher these days because it's just so important in this.
It is really, really important. If you can fix your deck, you are at a distinct advantage.
We've already got a couple pieces which I like.
And we have
Scarred Guildmage is a very, very good one. It's one of my favorite ones. So we're going to slam that here. There's also Snapjaw, which is up to note. Possibly Wheeling, not 100% on that though. Okay, next pack we've got stuff in other colors that's very good. Guess we could take the Night Watch or the Syndic. We can probably try and make the Syndic work.
I don't think so, but maybe.
I mean, if you have one white source, you can extort.
Yeah.
And extort is very strong. Night Watch is fine. I just don't feel like we're going to have to splash for it. I'd rather splash for an extort spell, I guess. Either way, it's not 100% likely we could do it. There's also Warmind Infantry. Knight's much better. Let's take a look at our color scheme. Definitely mostly green-red. But we have 4, technically 5 white spells.
And a Cluestone and a Guild Gate already.
I like the infantry a little more. But Knight is one of the best ones. Might be a sign that... Let's try and consolidate a little bit more. I mean, I really do like Knight a lot, but I think we should be focusing on the red-green in the deck. And Warmind is, like, satisfactory. It can take over games. Wasteland Viper is very good. It's also Ruination Worm, which is a good 6-drop. I think I like the Viper because it doubles as a great combat trick. It's a good blocker. Just all over the place. Really strong card. Salt Griffin's in here. That's pretty much the only thing on color. Also a Skyblinder staff, but we'll cut the Griffin. Okay, we can take Edict now. There's also Martial Glory. Bomber Core if we want to stick more green-red.
Kind of like Angelic Edict, which is good removal and better on the splash. Not that we're splashing Bomber Core.
Let's take the... well... let's just take the Passage, I guess. Could be white's more open. I guess we haven't gotten any good red cards. Just got good red and green cards. So it's tough.
So it could be Selesnya will be really open in this last pack.
That'd be nice. We're still valuing Guild Gates pretty high if we can find them. Maybe even Key Runes. Alright, Tiger. Could also take Foundry Street.
No, let's bank on getting our white green in the next pack actually, and just kind of plan on red being our lighter color.
Okay. Well, red's kind of important though for this. All of our red-green cards are really
I know,
important, so we
but-
really need to be well set up.
But we're not going to find any, like Foundry Street Denizen, you know, not really a reason to push yourself harder in the red. And right now we only have like 3 early red plays.
Yeah, it looks like we've got mostly white now, so looks like we're just being actively told that white's open. Which kind of sucks since it's neither of the base colors we wanted to do. But this has been a really rough format for me lately. I've been, I don't know, just been not getting signaled the way I want to be signaled in almost every draft.
Yeah.
And I end up like getting a satisfactory deck that I'm happy with, but it's just the signaling never works out.
Yeah.
None of these cards really matter. I guess we'll take signal because it's rare and it's playable, but I'm sure we have 3 different creatures I wouldn't mind searching up.
Rurik Thar, Scabplant Giant.
I'd rather just not play it since it's got random attached to it, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're right. Scabclan, Rurik Thar, or, Viper, Armored Wolf Rider, Scarred Guildmage.
Mm-hmm.
All of those are good. Guildmage is particularly good because it can straight up take the game over, even with just 1 mountain, but I guess we take this for sideboard, still cutting our base colors that we're trying to cut here. Yeah, I wish we had some more Evolve, I guess, in green. That would have been cool. Horror of the Dim, Razor Tip Whip, Plains. Okay, so we're going to be moving into our Return to Ravnica pack here. And we're hunting for good Selesnya cards or just good green and red cards in general. Blood Crypt. Got Splatter Thug, Knightly Valor.
Centaur Healer.
Centaur Healer is a very good Selesnya card. So probably not the Thug then. We could go Healer, Herald, Knightly Valor, all of which are good. Looks like we're almost mostly white now. We do have 15 creatures already. It could be the Knightly Valor. Go deeper white. Otherwise, Centaur Healer is very good. Maybe we just want that. The 3-drop.
I think so. Works
That
well
gains
with
you
Pit
life.
Fight.
Gets you to late game too. Which this deck looks like it's going to need. There's currently 21 playable spells. So we're going to end up with enough cards, most likely. Cackler's in here. There's also Armory Guard. Batterhorn.
Pegasus.
Concordia Pegasus. Deeper white, but probably okay.
Discard. I don't know. Batter increases? Or Batterhorn, rather?
Batterhorn's not bad. Yeah, there's a lot of key runes that are played. Pegasus is okay, but it might wheel. Here we have Drudge Beetle, Trader's Instinct, Giant Growth. They're all good. Pit Fight, Trader's Instinct's good. We have 17 creatures already, so I'm kind of in the mood to get some spells, maybe, yeah. I mean, I do like Drudge Beetle, but I wouldn't mind getting some tricks, I guess. Instinct, because it can really take the game over, I kind of like.
Okay.
Giant Growth's very good, too. But Instinct lets you win the game with their stuff, which is just broken. Alright, Impact here is another... I mean, there's also Rhino and Savage Surge, both of which are good, but I kind of like the Impact since it's another spell. We'll get a good distribution of spells to creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Still no removal, huh? There's a Rakdos Keyrune, not on color with us. Yeah, I think we take the Arrow here. It's a good call. Decent removal. Not the best, but pretty satisfactory.
At least you can attack into it, I suppose.
So now we have 25 playables. Probably cut the Shielded Passage. Let's cut Maze Rusher, maybe. Take Mana Bloom. That'll help us fix.
Yeah,
Not the
actually,
worst.
or Selesnya Kira.
Oh, Kirun might be better. Kirun's also a creature. I kind of like it more than the Mana Bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that. Chorus of Might is fine. 10-minute Crasher is pretty unnecessary. It's just like the chorus. It's actually a legit trick. Here we've got another arrow. Cobble Brute's actually fine. I almost like him more than Tiger.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Okay.
Still need to make another cut too, but you can take the Cobble Brute. Cobble Brute's actually good with Chorus of Might. You get the trample. Nightly Valor table.
Wow.
So white was clearly open, but that's all right. I mean, we ended up with getting some pretty good white spells. Take the Armory Guard. He's fine. Plenty of creatures to choose from. Plenty of quality creatures to choose from. We'll have to do a count on what red spells I specifically want to splash for or play.
I think.
Yeah, like we don't necessarily have to do Cobble Brute or Warmind Infantry. Scarred Guildmage is actually worth a splash. Zertod Druid may not be, but we'll take a look. This deck's alright. It's not horrible. I mean, we did get it. I think we're playing both the Cluestone and the Key Rune, though. Really want to make sure that we hit not only our 5th and 6th lands, but the right colors. Did you see they're bringing Verdant Haven back in the core set?
I thought that was kind of funny.
That's kind of cool. I'm down with that. Verdant Haven felt like a good one in this block.
Mm-hmm. It's a fine card.
I've seen it come close to winning games. I can take the Batterhorn now. Already got one, I guess, but whatever.
Do you have to destroy an artifact with Batterhorn?
No.
Cool.
So it's even better than the 3-mana 2/2 one from core set. Yeah. It's actually the most playable, I think. So all of our fixing hits are white, which is kind of cool. Should mean we don't have to run as much. But we'll see. Because I do like our core Gruul cards are very good. We have like we ended up Guildmage, Rurikthar, and Scatman, so and the Druid. So that 4 is very good.
I know, and we have Explosive Impact too. And
so
some other good
let's just take a look at what we could do green-red, or how much we have green-red.
Yeah,
just green-red.
Don't forget your Pit Fight too. It's in your multicolor.
I'll put in the Selesnya cards last. For now, let's just put in all these. This is 17 if we played all these.
Well, you can put in your Keyrun and Cluestone then.
We'll have a gate too. So the best things in white that we have that we'd want, probably these two. The Edict, the Valor. Salt Griffin's good. Avenging Arrow, Syndic.
I feel like I wouldn't play the Syndic, and I would play this. Well, you've got 26 cards, so you got to cut some.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't play the Syndic.
Now, why is that?
Just because it's a 2-drop, I guess.
Even though it gives you Extort late game, you don't like it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
we don't have to play the Batterhorns. Definitely, we can cut one of them. We don't have to play the Maze Rusher.
Well, then you're cutting creatures again. You're at 15 now.
Nightly Valor's kind of a creature. We can cut the Chorus of Might. Let's separate. Nightly Valor's still kind of a creature, so we can cut some spells. Definitely. Maybe we cut the Chorus. I'd rather have the Arrow, probably. Although this one is good, but it's not amazing. You're really hoping on cutting the Syndic? I kind of like it.
No.
It's always nice to have one extorter. Extort is such a good mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Guess I'd rather not cut a creature, so which one of these spells? This is still a creature technically too, so maybe we can cut the Cobble Brute, or maybe we cut the Batterhorn. Main deck. Prefer to do the Cobble Brute because it's cheaper, more power. Might be better.
Okay.
Let's look at our colors currently, so we can see what kind of, wow, completely even. Perfect. It's always what I never want to do, but do. Every time. Like clockwork. Doesn't matter what I'm trying to do the entire time. It's hilarious. So we need to make one more cut. Let's cut. Let's cut the Batterhorn. We'll sideboard into him. Guess that takes us to 14 creatures, doesn't it?
Well, you have Alive Well and Nightly Valor.
Oh, okay. So it's really like 16. Then that's probably fine. So completely even split on lands. Exactly what I didn't want. We currently have 3 white sources with the Clue Stone and 2 green sources. So we really need to focus on how many red sources that we want to have, since it's pretty much dead even. So this would be 8 green, 6 red, 8 white. I think we should probably adjust that. So
take a white out, put a red in.
So this way it's 7 red, 8 green, 7 white. Is green the priority color? I guess early it is, huh?
We don't have any Boros cards.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that. I think that's cool. I mean, yeah, I think this is fine.
We're not even online with everything until late game anyway, so.
Yeah, and the 2 ramp really helps us get to our 5 and 6 easier. Yeah. So I think this is a legit plan. All right, if you want to watch the games for this, go to SeemsGoodMagic.com. Still live streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central Time. Last week I did it on Wednesday. I hope everybody had a happy 4th of July. If you want to contact me, it's Mortarpod at SeemsGoodMagic.com. I look at that. I respond. I've been posting a lot of fan-submitted content. People have been jumping into my Commander games, like we said earlier. That's been really cool. So appreciate that, everybody who's coming out and communicating with me. I really appreciate that. I still am doing the blogs as often as possible. Still in the process of updating my eBay store, so I'm trying to make that all perfect to comply with their policy. So stay updated for that. Yeah, I think that's about it for this podcast. So hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.